Michael J. Nelson here. 372 pages we'll never get back. Conor Listoka is with me too. Hello, Conor.
Hello, Mike. It's good to talk to you. We've got some exciting news to cover before we get to the quilting.
Yes, one of our duties here, we always say, we keep you up to date with the news. That's kind of mainly what we do, and then we talk about bad books in between that. And we're going to get to the quilter verse soon. We're in the cozy universe now. Things are cozy. Our news is not that cozy, but it
yes.
very definitely pertains to a book we very recently did, so we have to bring it up.
Yes, this could affect you and your loved ones at this moment, this breaking news.
The book, was it called Bat City?
Bridge to Bat City.
Bridge to Bat City by the illustrious Ernest Cline, the person who spawned this whole thing. And we read it, and it was about the bats in Austin. It was a lot about,
dancing
classic,
with them, invite them into your house to roost. Yeah.
Yes, they're mojo, and they're flying around, they're singing songs, they're cute. The evil person is someone who thinks, bats are, they give rabies. I don't like bats.
Get out of here.
Shaking their fist at bats.
Bulldoze their bridge they live under. I don't care if we have to build another one.
Blowtorch them all. Which brings us to CBS News that I ran across last night. I don't know when you're hearing this, but...
Biased anti-bat source.
This is not good news. I'm not taking joy in this, obviously. I'm just reporting it. California teacher dies after being bitten by a bat inside her classroom. Good Lord.
Did it like just really nick the right part of her jugular or something? And, she bled out from a freak, accident. It couldn't possibly be related to rabies, because that was the main thesis of Ernest Cline's book, was that this is...
It was an imperceptible bite.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
She fell ill weeks later, was taken to the hospital, where she was put into a medically induced coma and died days later. This is horrible news. We were shocked to learn that Leah's passing she was a popular teacher in California.
From rabies, from a bat bite.
Rabies, from an undetected, look at this cute little bat, everyone. 2 weeks later, dead. I mean,
but this is
horrible.
An isolated incident, though, at least.
So you would think that it would be isolated, but this little story touches upon 2 other people in North America have died of rabies.
This year alone.
Very recently. I won't go into that because it's too sad to go into. But, people just died from rabies, both from rabies.
So, I mean...
3 people died from rabies.
You could make one of those charts that's causation is not correlation, but, Bridge to Bat City published... Rabies deaths, in America from bat bites, woo, there we go. Do your own, draw your own conclusions, folks.
I'm fully blaming him. I want him dragged away, torn apart by tractors. No, this is parody. This is a satire.
Yes, of course. Satire. Klein has lawyers. No, thank
Comedy,
you.
Yes. We love him. Great author.
Well,
Great
I mean,
writer.
this is typically the type of things people send to us every time this bat-related thing happens. Someone sent to us just this week a drawing, a show poster for a magnetic field show that's taking place in Austin, Texas, where it was 2 bats mojoing. I assumed Koenig and Lamar, perhaps, but
yes.
But do not mojo with any bats who might fly into your thing to watch Austin City Limits.
No, we're just warning you. Yes. Yeah. There was no, in the book, as I recall, there were no surreptitious bites to teachers that caused them to lapse into an induced coma 3 weeks later and then die, as I recall.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was mostly them dancing to Willie Nelson. Maybe that's just my vague memory.
I feel like school was always something that was in the periphery. It was going to be, school was starting in 72 hours, so we managed to throw a whole festival and build a hospital for all our potential rabies victims with all the money we raised. Wow. Well,
anyway, sorry to bring that news to you, but it's important.
Is that something you're getting served these days because of looking up bats 6 months ago or whenever we read that?
I did not. I don't know how I came across that. It doesn't speak well of me that somehow I, click on the sidebar. Oh, bat death. Another one of those. All right. No, I don't know how I came across that.
Yes. Well, yeah. Don't pet these furry little critters. They're not your friends.
Yes.
I have one more unrelated thing to discuss before we get into the coziness.
Does it involve death?
No, it's not.
Okay,
it's just
good. All right.
More
Thank you.
maybe
time
death
to
of
shift gears.
Yeah, of someone who I admires esteem for me, perhaps. But we went to had my 25th high school reunion this weekend, and what part of the festivities involved that? I mean, most of the festivities were 2 different nights of hanging out with people and staying out late. But then there was a tour of the high school on the Saturday where you could just go back. It was an alumni day type of thing.
Yeah.
And one of the people who was there, like I didn't know teachers were going to be there or whatever, but my friend spotted one of our favorite teachers like across the hallway, and we went to go talk to him. This was a guy who, had a great personality. I'm sure he wrote me a college recommendation. He was the Model UN sponsor. An activity that I don't know if I've ever revealed I participated in, but I did because I needed it on those college applications I just mentioned.
Sure. Yeah.
And we went up to him and we're talking to him, and he, it had been 25 years, and he had however many, probably teaches 150 students every year for however many years before he retired. But he looked at us and he remembered us, and he
That's nice. Yeah.
told my friend on the left, reminisced about a time he caught him, making out with his girlfriend on a Model UN trip, and then he looked at me and he was sort of like, I've seen some of those comedy things you've been doing online.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, I sort of like, huh? He turned to the third person standing with us, and I remember. So it was your all-time favorite thing where someone says, I saw that live show you did.
Yep.
No further comment, no judgment, no acknowledgement that, like, congratulations. It was merely this thing exists, and that's going to hang in the air until something else happens now.
I think the first, 500 times I took the bait. Like, right. You had a book come out. I saw you had a book come out. Oh, yeah. Did you like it or read it? No. I didn't. Why did I take the bait? Now I've told you I stare and complete. So you're doing you got that little riff tracks thing going there, huh? And then I just go, and then just wait and let them sweat.
It was this is not the only time it happened, but his teacher then went on to say a little bit later, so what else do you do? That can't possibly pay the bills, huh? And I was like, so that was a recurring theme, but it was like, I don't know, man. Like, there's a guy, like the guy who organized the reunion was one of the producers of that Bob Marley movie that came out last year. So clearly you're familiar with the idea that, people are willing to exchange money for entertainment, like at some point in time. So it's not like a concept I'm just inventing to you. Like, I spit in a jar and I sell it online. They're like, oh, sure, I've heard of that. Like, yeah, I bought some of that girl's bath water. Like, it's glad you got in on that racket while the getting was good. But it's like, comedy? What? Anyway, so I thought you would enjoy hearing that was
I love it.
Not isolated just to you.
Yeah, I'm glad it happens to you as well. But folks, let's get cozy now.
Yes, please.
Let's go on does it get much cozier than a cruise? The quilters of Quilter, we're in, I always get this wrong, because at the top of my notes I just have Quilt Cruise. I don't think that's what it's called.
It's the Quilting Cruise. That's how
Quilting
I
Cruise. I was like, I looked it up on my own computer this morning. I'm like, the Quilters Cruise? My computer's like, I have never heard of that. What are you talking about? I'm like, Quilting Cruise? Yeah, but there's a "the" in front of it, so please, Mike, include that. Like, God, would you it's a quilt cruise.
And it's by the Devlin sisters. I also can't remember their name. I have the book right here, but it's... The
Devlins went down to Georgia. They were looking for a soul to steal.
Mary Devlin Lynch and Beth Devlin Kuhn.
Yes.
It is a cozy mystery, so it's short, and doesn't take place at Christmas. I thought that was going to be the case here, but where they get down to the Caribbean to avoid the winter weather of Cutler, Pennsylvania. But no, it's just they're on a cruise, and we covered the first 9 chapters last time and didn't necessarily get to the, very heavy air quotes mystery that is going on here.
We got right up to it. the mystery. And so it is amazing that then we kind of, you assume like, okay, let's get into it. We're in the middle of it. Chapter 10 doesn't start with it. But maybe we should catch people up.
Sure.
What's her name? Miranda Downing.
Miranda Hathaway? Oh, Miranda Downing, of course. Not Miranda Hathaway. Why would I think that it's called that based on the Miranda Hathaway adventures on the beginning of the book?
No one ever calls her Hathaway. Was that Harry the cat's last name? The reincarnated cat?
Harry Hathaway was the her husband and cat, and maybe the same thing at this point in time.
We don't know what her maiden name is. I don't think we ever get that, but maybe. But anyway, she's formerly Hathaway. She's now Miranda Downing. Goes on a cruise despite her fear of open water. Not the movie Open Water or Open Water 2 or Open Water 3, but she just doesn't like water going out to the horizon. So, I don't know. She lives on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, Cutler, Pennsylvania.
Cutler. Oh,
and she
okay. So, yeah.
She was not like forced into this at gunpoint. Like that wasn't the whole like Mrs. Hathaway, there is a bomb on your beloved husband Gabe. It will explode if you don't go on this cruise. It was just like her friend sort of shamed her into going on this despite a phobia.
Her friend Dee, that common nickname for Diane, told her to. Yeah, we got to go on this cruise because everyone hates me being Dee, Diana. So could you please, because I really need to go on a cruise where all the quilters hate me. I don't quilt myself. In fact, I hate it. Loathe everything about it. You talked about Redwork. I will stab you in the eye with a quilting with a long arm. Can you stab someone in the eye? I don't know.
Who knows? We got some photos of long arms sent to us, so we can delve into that later.
Good. So she goes on the cruise, and mostly it's eating at buffets. I don't know that there's much more than that. She talks about the food. There's a lot of drool factor here, folks, which we'll get into later. And then she gets confronted by two people who run the seminars for quilting. One who says, could you please help out my fellow quilter? I think she's in over her head. And then the only thing we learn is she's with some shady guy who I assume jingles his change around and goes to casinos and launders money for an unnamed, I don't know that we know who he launders money
so
for.
So far, they've seen him at the high-stakes slot machines, which, based on the information we're given, are $500 a pull. This theory about money laundering does come up very soon, but let's do it in real time. But that's where they've seen him. They've seen him at the slot machine, and he's looking grim and dark, which, if you've ever walked past people playing slot machines, they're not usually like yucking it up, elbowing each other in the ribs, like loving life, like ordering drinks for everybody. Grim and dark is pretty much the default setting of just like, you don't even pull the thing anymore. You just hit the button, usually smoking a cigarette. Like it's not a joyful existence.
Yeah. I got ahead of what he does. He goes to casinos and bets a lot. And so the jury will disregard that I said anything. Do you understand? This is the judge admonishing you. You did not hear anything about money laundering. So please just wipe that from your mind and now let the trial continue.
Should we dive into it? Chapter 10.
Yes, chapter
Cruise
10.
day 3. Nothing but water. You get these headings for the next couple days based on where they are attending. The first thing that I wanted to share was she says their plan for the day will be to have a lovely leisurely breakfast. Take a look at the shop that has cool T-shirts and meander down to bingo at 10. And they were just in Key West. And I when I was at Key West like 2 years ago, I took a picture of the T-shirts they had in a window. I'll put it up on the thing, but it's truly incredible. And I hope these are the T-shirts that Miranda is also shopping for. There's like 2 rows of Disney princesses as like hot tattoo chicks. Mm-hmm. There's like Jasmine is wearing like a Bane gas mask and giving the double middle fingers. You've got Snow White in a Tennessee whiskey Jack Daniels shirt with like sleeve tattoos. And then down there you have the ones for the guys, which is pretty much all like Bart smoking a blunt, Bart and Stewie Griffin with lines of Coke behind them, Goku and the Avatar guy smoking blunts, Pikachu hitting a bong,
nice.
Bart with Homer smoking a blunt with BoJack Horseman, with the guy from Archer, Roger from American Dad, Bender and Rick and Marty all smoking blunts at a bar. So, and then there's one in the middle that warning to the kids out there, language. It's a two-parter, so you wear this. Miranda and Dee could get this, but it spells out, if you stand next to each other, best fucking bitches. So I hope that's what they're going to go to purchase.
I love it. I will point out, however, before they go on this little adventure, but in the last chapter, they heard the woman outside the door. Ow! The female voice gasped in pain. They sat up straight, looked at each other in the dim light of the bathroom night light. So that's chapter 9. Chapter 10, I fell asleep, determined to avoid that guy for the rest of the cruise. She's outside being stabbed or garroted or something. And then Dee's intentions were different, as I found out the next morning. It was to go and shop for the T-shirts just described here. So they just try
hit
to
the white noise machine.
They do the thing that I do on a plane and very comically put in your earplugs. Huh? What was that? Help! Anyone in there? I'm in pain. Yeah. Well, shoo.
I imagine cruises have an app these days that you can report any disturbance or something that needs cleaning on. So they just emphatically hit that button to report a noise complaint.
Yes. So no word on whether the woman who was ouching in pain actually met her end. We don't know. Because what they're going to do, here's my next note. Then we did indeed meander around the interior of the ship, pretending that we were walking off the croissants. I know what they mean, but how do you stay in a state of pretending to walk off croissants? Was it performative? Did others notice they were pretending to walk off croissants? Do you?
Yeah, if you're walking, you are burning calories, correct? There's no way to fake that. It really is we discussed this earlier. We went into a deep dive on the subject, but it is essentially like Kathy at sea here. The Kathy Geist-White comic Kathy, where these are the concerns of fitting into a swimsuit, eating ice cream, but trying to hide it from Irving. It's very that mentality, which is, it was jarring to look back and be like, so Kathy Geist-White was a feminist icon because of this? My favorite color is chocolate, was the collected works of Kathy type of thing.
Do you remember the name of the French bistro that they go to eat chocolate croissants?
I've got it right here, but I would not have remembered. Chez Jean?
Chez Jean.
Which is ironic because you won't be fitting into your jeans after a few croissants at Chez Jean.
After a few of those chocolate croissants. Oh, no. Oh, my God. So they go to have chocolate croissants, to be very French. But then they go to bingo. And they say here, there's no better feeling than throwing your arm up and yelling bingo. No better, throwing your arm up and saying, I cured cancer doesn't rise slightly above that.
I mean, she indicates that she did win a $25 gift card, so I think that, throwing your arm up if you won the $50 gift card might be a better feeling. It also is a huge slam on Gabe's Jeopardy skills, too, if there's no better feeling than winning bingo. So,
yeah. Gabe, whatever you're doing during those Jeopardy things is not making the grade.
So they've played bingo, they've had croissants, they've shopped for T-shirts, they've walked around the cruise. And then this is the first time we're going to get to some actual honest-to-God quilting here.
Yes.
And we get some hardcore quilting talk to go along with it, because we get Virginia Hamilton's presentation on Redwork.
I was, that Chekhov's Redwork, because it was in our first reading. I'm like, if this does not come up, this will be amazing.
So we get a description of it, and our listeners wrote in to confirm this is true. They sent in some pictures of their own Redwork. It is a matter of embroidering on a white or neutral background with red thread. Sounds simple enough, right, Mike?
Yeah.
But you can take it to a lot of levels.
Holy. What kind of levels?
Virginia starts with a bit of history, which is the mid-19th century where it started, because red was the easiest color to obtain, and then goes on to show us other things. And then they break bold new paradigms, because she says, it was new to me that Redwork was now also being done in other single colors like black, blue or green.
Yes, I had that. I was like, and what do they call those? Okay. Oh, it's still Redwork, but we do it in black. Like, wait a minute, just call it.
But then she does reveal that she finishes embroidering a redwork of a giraffe in black and a baby's name underneath it. That seals the deal for Miranda because she says, "Have I mentioned my new grandson?" And I don't think she had.
I just wrote, has she? I don't know.
And this is the only mention, unless he has a name that she refers to him by later. So, so when you go back to, is there any better feeling than throwing up your arm and yelling bingo? Birth of a grandchild, which you experienced lately, is that goes around. What, $5 bingo victory?
Yes. Yeah.
Placing the free square. That's around the equivalent of grandchild born.
Yeah. You're a grandfather. Yeah. Let me yell bingo and I'll get back to you.
B48. Oh! Pass out cigars.
Lori?
Okay.
Do we know her?
Well, Lori is the person who's having the problem with the guy playing the high-stakes slot machines.
So she's the one who's married to Mike.
Yep. She's also an instructor on this quilt cruise.
Okay. And Ginny is the one who's...
Ginny is the one that gave the Redwork talk, but also initially big-time Miranda because she was like, oh, you solved that murder back at my last talk, and I didn't like, that you did that. I don't really understand.
And then there's Eleanor. Anyway, it was just a lot of names. I was like, do I go back and look who Eleanor and Virginia and Lori, Ginny and Dee?
If you're not reading it as a PDF doc where you can Control F all of these things, it must be maddening. You'd have to have the bookmarks like Infinite Jest to go back to, or an appendix like at the end of Game of Thrones.
Who recommended this? There's a
Jeff.
reader, Jeff. Okay. I want to ask Jeff, if you're out there, if you're listening, what's going on with this one? I'm sure you read them all, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally have put it that way since I was actually ambushed by her killer, having no idea she had done it, but I really wanted the woman to get on with it so I could go meet Dee for lunch. What is this ambushed by a killer thing that is mentioned in a parenthetical?
This is exactly. What does he say? Oh yeah, you were involved in solving Eleanor's murder, and so she takes that she takes that personally because I guess the murderer attacked her. But yeah, Jeff, let us know what happened there. How Miranda managed to get out of that ambush.
Okay, Eleanor is dead then.
Eleanor is the person who was killed at the quilting conference.
Okay, so probably bitten by a bat, I would assume.
Sorry. Eleanor is dead. First book probably. Lori has a problem and she's really scared. And Ginny's looking around the room to make sure that no one's watching. He's gotten in with some really bad people. They have him doing bad things that can only end up with him being dead or in prison. And Lori's being drawn in with him. And she just wants out. She wants it to stop. And Miranda is sort of just tapping her watch and being it's half-price craps going on here in 10 minutes, that I got to get a marg before I head there. So she's like, define the bad things.
I'm pretty hungry. That's a thing that comes up a lot. People going someone has a knife to my throat. Yeah, but the buffet is right over there.
Yeah, they did just get a new prime rib at the carving station. She also says Ginny says I know your husband is an FBI agent, and she's like, ex-FBI agent. You're really making it impossible for me to gauge the situation by not giving me any more information. I'm not a detective. So she is more than happy to drop all these hints about babies she found homes for and murder she solved, and then as soon as it approaches her for help, she's like, "Can I get back to my cruise? I've got
nothing to do with me. Whatever your problem is."
Mr. Peanut Butter hitting a bong T-shirt to buy,
and then she mentions that Lori and her husband, this is Ginny speaking, I assume, have their own moles in law enforcement.
Yes.
So I think I gave the game up, but my note was, what the hell are they up to? Gun running, fentanyl, human trafficking, Blarianaing people? What is going on?
Oh, man, that would be great. Blariana at sea. The quilters tackling sex trafficking probably isn't going to happen, but my God. But so she says the people that are involved here have their own contacts in law enforcement. If she went to them, these people would find out. Mike and Lori would probably disappear without a trace soon after. And have you ever read or, God forbid, had someone who like got in deep with a scammer? Because this is like classic scammer talk.
Yeah.
Be like, ma'am, do not contact FBI. We have contacts in FBI. We will, we disappear you if you contact police. Like, it's exactly what you would say if someone kept calling you back trying to get you to buy him, $2,000 of Amazon gift cards.
Yes. Oh, there was the guy who. What was he? He was on one of the dating networks, and he was just a scammer, but he would fly people on their first date, and then his scam was then he'd send them pictures of, like, his bodyguard being, like, with gashes on his head, like, I told you I was in danger. I must use your credit cards for the next 10 days. And then would just fly to his next location and start it over again. A pyramid scheme of doing this to women. It's like, I can't tell you about it. It's super secret, but we're super rich.
Oh,
Mike and Lori flying around, going on cruises. They must be rich.
I mean, that would be another great thing for the quilters to solve too. They bust a Nigerian phone scammer or something like they.
Yeah. Those only started once they put the interstate in. By the way.
Oh yes,
before
absolutely.
that there was no.
My God,
no Nigerian scamming.
Speaking of scamming, I like this part where she says, Virginia is like, give me your phone. I'll put my number in case you need to contact me. I did what she asked. I was too busy thinking to pay attention. She handed it back to me, and I took it automatically. Virginia definitely just Venmoed herself $500 so she could go play one round of the slot machines. That's like the latest scam too. Is like never hand your phone to a stranger because you do it and it's like I saw that they had opened up Venmo and tried to send themselves $2,000. It's like that's not even a scam anymore. That's just.
So this chapter usually we knock on the chapter ends in this because it doesn't. Chapter is just like it's just a continuous sheet of writing. Mm-hmm. But this one does have an ending, and this one irritated the hell out of me, I have to admit. And so I had to contact Conor. I was reading it a couple days ago, and I contacted him. I'm like, what is going on with this? And he said, yep, I had the same note. This is the sentence. See if it irritates you. Harry was right. Coming on this cruise was a bad idea. She had a conversation with someone named Harry, and Harry was like, you should not go on that cruise. You ready for this? Mm-hmm. Harry's her cat.
Yes.
The reincarnation of her late husband, Harry.
Of her husband who was killed in a hunting accident. I think Harry raised his hackles during Jeopardy or something to indicate that it was a bad idea to go on here.
I thought he was standing in the corner like Puss in Boots with a hand on his hip and going making the cutting across his throat gesture like don't go on that cruise. Harry is anthropomorphized in this book to a degree that irritates me.
Yeah. When you went back, it did use his name 9 times in a row. But yeah, as the cat, I suppose that's if you're 9 books into this series, most people aren't picking this one up first, so you're vastly familiar with that. But
yes,
to the reader who's reading it to mock it, that's not so much. This is the last thing of this chapter I wanted to talk about. After she talked to. After she was talking to these people about, how Lori's in trouble, she said, it saddened me a little to realize that my experiences over the past several years had brought me to this cynical place. 5 years ago, I believed everything that was said to me. Growing up in a small town had cocooned me in a soft blanket of complete safety and trust for a long time, but that had changed. I had changed. Damn you, Interstate! You've wrested away my soft blanket of complete safety and trust. With your quick access to neighboring towns and ease of interstate commerce.
It's a thing that, I don't get. It always happens in, true crime things, like a small town and then someone's murdered. That never happens here. Well, it happens at the same rate. It's just you're a small town.
Sure, there's less of it to happen.
We leave our doors open. You shouldn't do that. People are bad in every place. They're not better because they live in a small town.
Right. Jeez.
All right. Chapter 11?
Chapter 11, meets with... she goes and sits down with Dee, who already has a whole pizza in front of her.
Yes.
And Dee is about to go to jazzercise because she chuckled, "Have you seen the instructor?"
It is Kathy.
It is. It's Kathy. And then she immediately then says, "This food at the ship is everything you've heard of. I'm going to have to start doing laps around the deck if I don't want to go home 5 pounds heavier." So, Ack City is going on here.
Well, she says, that line, "By the way, the food on the ship is everything you've heard and more." She's talking to me, the reader. Everything I've heard about the norovirus and overflowing toilets and like E. coli outbreaks. That's what I've heard about being on a cruise ship.
It's on you to tell us.
Yes.
We had one listener who sent us a picture of the buffet at a cruise their friend is on, and it's a big steam tray of lutefisk because it was a Norwegian ABBA cruise. So who was that? I'll have to
Lutefisk.
Yeah, playing up to the stereotypes. Speaking of,
I was roommates with a guy who was of Swedish extraction, and his old Swedish grandpa would come and he'd go like, "Do you want to have Christmas with us?" And one year I was like, "Sure, whatever." And I go, and a giant tray of lutefisk that he and the grandmother like scooped off a big sloppy, slimy thing, and then they ate with their, what are those little Swedish like tortillas that are just like, ugh, and like slopping that up in the lutefisk grease running down his face and going, no. So the next year he asked me, I'm like, I think I'm going to skip.
No, I'm Jewish now. Sorry, it's
Christmas. Oh, yum!
I sent you the picture of the lutefisk. This is from Ronvig, who sent us the lutefisk buffet on the ABBA cruise.
Yeah, that's about as good as lutefisk has ever looked, and it looks like someone stood back 10 feet and vomited into a steel bucket.
Where the lutefisk has been sort of scraped away, where you've already taken the serving, and not many people have taken this serving, by the way. It is virtually untouched. But then back where it has not been disturbed is where you really see the sort of jelly on top.
Yeah.
So as good as you've heard. This is where they get into the idea of what this guy's doing. And as we have seen, I think in a lot of these cozy mysteries, you get a lot of people's first instincts about a crime that's committed, and it turns out to be true without any, any twist or anything like that. She says, "I followed him. He's playing high-stakes slots. He had a pile of those cash-out tickets in front of him." And then Miranda says, "I waited trying to hear what was interesting about this." And I was like, okay, that's relatable. If you've ever had a friend who's like a gambler, a poker player, or a football gambler, hearing about gambling, down there, one of the least interesting things you could ever have someone discuss with you.
Yes.
Oh, you thought you were going to win and then you lost? That's fascinating. But then Dee says, "Geez, Miranda, don't you ever watch Hawaii Five-0? Money laundering, that's how drug dealers do it. They swap out their drug money by putting money in the machines. They lose a little, win a little, then they get a printout ticket they can cash in for clean money. Get it?" And I liked that Hawaii Five-0 was her go-to here for criminal activity. Mm-hmm. Do you think she's talking about the new one or the original one? And I have a quiz for you. Well, How many seasons and episodes do you think the original Hawaii Five-0 ran for? And then how many do you think the new one ran for? The one with Scott Conn.
Oh, there was a series. I was going to say, is it a movie? Is it like one of those with like Starsky and Hutch, just a one-off? But
no. It was a CBS series, I think, with Daniel Day Kim from Lost, Scott Conn, probably some other guy.
I'm going to say that it was 8 seasons with Jack Lord.
Okay.
In the first one, I believe it started in probably 72.
Okay.
And
what
ran
about
8
the
seasons.
New one? The original one, you said 7. It was 12 seasons.
12.
281 episodes. Which,
okay. And then the second one, did it run a full year? I don't know. I suppose they probably shot it all at once, so yeah, it ran.
The new one ran for 10 years and 240 episodes.
Good God. Wow.
Yeah, it ran from 2010 to 2020. It's incredible.
So at the end of it, and then Scott Conn says to like someone like, "Book him, Dano," and then the kids are like, "Yeah, they said it, the phrase."
It was probably a top 10 show on TV for the entire duration we did the podcast. It's
wow. Yeah, I love that game of which I should have always assumed that it's way longer than I thought.
Oh, a TV show I've never heard of? It clearly ran for a decade. It has to be. Why else would you be asking me this?
By the way, what's our Grey's Anatomy check? Is Grey's Anatomy still on the air?
I believe it. I mean, one, it has to be, and I talked about this to a friend not within the past 72 hours, and I'm pretty sure last time we checked in, it was like it's season 20, Mike. It's
Oh God. Okay.
When the finale airs, we'll have to get together and watch it.
Yes. Okay.
And then
So
the reboot will start the next day.
yes. So I think this is a joke for them. I think because like they're old quilters, and she says, Dee's a wonderful person and a first-class English teacher, but she'll never be on Dancing Stars, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, getting the name
Getting
wrong.
the name wrong,
Like,
I assume we're supposed to go like, ha, 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 she's old?
yeah, like your mom, says, look it up on the Google type of thing.
Yes, like the, Arrested Development. Go see A Star War. That's I don't know. I think that's what it's supposed to be. There is no such thing as Dancing Stars, correct?
Maybe if you go to Aldi and get their store brand version of it or something.
Okay.
Why I don't know why she did the dance. Oh, she's going to Jazzercise, right?
Yes.
But so essentially, they say that this is international water, so there's no law enforcement. So that's a nice hand wave, and like they assume like, oh, maybe they've done this a bunch of times if Lori is doing these cruises type of thing. And just to reiterate, it involves putting bills into these machines and then hitting out cash out. Then you get a ticket, you take it to the thing, and you get completely new cash. So like, as a scheme, it sounds like it could work. I looked it up. It's $10,000 you have to declare at U.S. Customs if you have it. So that's a slight flaw. If they are, that's just 20 pulls of a $500 a slot cash machine.
Yeah, I think once we went to the track once when I was in San Diego, and we all bet on we did like box the trifecta or whatever the hell, and we won $1,200 or something.
Nice.
Which, felt really good. It's like, oh, right. And then they're like, sir, you'll have to go in that line. And then there's this long line. You have to go in and report it as income and everything. And it's just like all the joy just drained out of it. I thought someone was just going to go, and thumb across
Here's
like
a cigar.
12 hundos, and then go, hoo, blow on their little horn. Instead, I'm at a government thing with a guy with a little green hat on going, put all your information down here.
Right. Well, you should have done it. You should have gone to international water horse racing. They would be there's a cruise for that. That would be popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you shoot the horse. It's international waters. He doesn't even have to break his leg. Then she encounters Lori, who sort of gives her like the passing, like the woman in Roadhouse when Patrick Swayze comes over to Benghazzara's and she's doing jazzercise and she hides her bruise. Lori sort of does that as Miranda walks past and sort of whispers like, "I'll do what I can to help you."
Yes. As I recall, by the way, in Roadhouse, Ben Gazzara didn't like the music, even though he was coming. She was like in the middle of her jazzercise routine, and then he yells as Patrick Swayze comes, "Would you shut that shit off?" Like, how long was it on?
Yeah,
you just noticed.
Yeah, he was really grooving along to it, but then as soon as Swayze showed up, he had to pretend like he didn't like it.
Yeah, I wasn't tapping my foot. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then right after she encounters Lori, I turned back to my room. A dark shadow appeared in front of me. And this is the husband, of course. But I was like, is it really a dark shadow? Because he's on a cruise. He's probably wearing, Crocs and a big fat guy Hawaiian shirt. Like, is he really he's got a noir filter with him where you can only see he's got blinds, shadows across his face.
His nose is super red because he forgot to put the white cream on it. Hey, how's it going? Oh, God, your stomach is so big outside of your Tommy Bahama shirt.
Yeah, it's the light from his daiquiri in the shape of a football that's casting the dark shadow. But he really is. He lowers his voice and says, "I thought you should know. I know who you are if we're going to be running into each other." But she, Miranda, raises herself up and says, "Now I know who you are too." And she brushes past him to get to her cruise room.
She says he was almost a foot taller than me, but I raised myself up to my full height. So what were you doing? Walking around like this? What is your full height? Because if you Go on your tiptoes. That's not you can't count that. I can't go
Nice.
into the doctor's office and go, I think you're 6'2". Like, no, actually, I'm 6'4". Oh, you rose yourself up to your full height. That was cheesy. Anyway, she's a full foot shorter than him, so he's probably not intimidated by whatever she did to raise herself up to her full height.
Chapter 12 starts with another quilting demonstration. So if you were worried that the first 9 chapters were lacking in these, they've come on strong in this next one, which is good because it is a quilting cruise. So they go to a hand quilting demonstration given by Jennifer Myers, who was tall, enviably thin, with bright red hair pulled into a ponytail and an infectious grin.
And they reference the late beloved Eleanor Jones. She says, in fact, her face fell a teeny bit. Our beloved Eleanor Jones loved to quilt without a hoop. Yes, there is a video. I wasn't asking, but thank you. It seems that something as simple as this didn't get as much press as her more dramatic projects. Why aren't we talking about Eleanor's more dramatic projects than quilting without a hoop? I mean, that's pretty dramatic.
Didn't get as much press, so it did get some press.
It got some press.
There was a guy with a derby and a little hat that said press who was taking emphatic notes as she hoop quilted, hand quilted without a hoop.
Yes, the ink-stained wretches in their thing were typing away. I got a new story.
Stop
Eleanor
the presses.
Jones.
Yeah.
She's
Dynamite
without
boffo stuff.
She's quilting without a hoop. That's not nearly as dramatic as what I've got. Wait a minute, young man.
Quilting without a hoop, you say? I hope there's video, otherwise you could take that straight to the slop factory. I'm not printing without video. And here we go. There's a couple words here that I feel like are doing some either needed the air quotes or are doing some real heavy lifting outside of their punching out their weight class. We sat fascinated as she talked us through layering and pinning without a frame, using fingerless gloves to ease the pain in the wrist and fingers, marking only small areas at a time so it wouldn't smudge off. Fascinated. And then she told us this remarkable story of passing through a small town in Kentucky and spotting a church quilting event. Remarkable is what that's. I guess I did not read the whole thing. A woman hung her layers on the wall and quilted up and down. She said if she hadn't seen it, she wouldn't have believed it. There is, however, no video of this thing, so we're relying entirely on her, on this narrator who may or may not be reliable.
Yeah, I mean, you start the story. That would be like leaving out the John Wick gunfights and then just saying it's not very remarkable that John Wick walked into a hotel. Like, that's true. It's not remarkable.
That was on me.
You left out the hanging. But she does say, and maybe if you want to get a big drink of water here,
please,
because this is pretty incredible stuff. She even gave us permission not to use a thimble. Yes. See,
well, it's a good thing they are in international waters then, because that does not fly in Cutler, PA.
Shut up! She did not.
Now we have the real crime being committed on this boat.
What?
Yeah. So quite the. I guess that's a fascinating demonstration. Then that I was wrong to scoff at the use of that word.
It is fascinating. The very short chapter, but she does encounter Mike and Lori again.
Yes.
Then we passed Lori and Mike Lambert. Interesting structure, but hey. As we exited the dining room, he made eye contact boldly. She didn't. Yep. This guy was starting to irritate me. This Mike Lambert guy can go straight to hell. Making eye contact.
Do you have a visual when you heard making eye contact boldly? Because I thought of one guy who I'm sure that you and most people probably don't remember, but there was a coach of the New York Jets named Adam Gase like 5 years ago who was known for just having eyes that sort of just like, where I was sort of bugging out of his eyes at press conferences around the sidelines. And, at some point in time, people were like, you should stop making fun of him. This could be a medical condition. And we're like, we're not going to stop making fun of the coach of the Jets in a 2-win season for having buggy eyes. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So that's how I think of making eye contact boldly.
Yeah, I wondered whether it was like, a weigh-in night for a fight, an MMF or something. Like, just walked up to her like a quarter inch away from her nose and then just like, stood staring. Finally pushed her and hit her in the face.
I sent you one picture of Adam Gase, but there was plenty of them out there, so we will include those in the description.
Oh, I'm still okay. Ludific. Oh, there we go. Crazy eyes.
That's a bold eye contact. That's a dark shadow making eye contact boldly.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Chapter 13 D is sort of like, well, we got to take this guy down, but we can't get Lori. She can't go down with him. And it's like, well, I think they're well known that you can provide details about a scheme if you turn evidence for immunity. That's sort of, the quilters should probably know that. They probably have involved someone in there at this point in time who has done that.
I mean, I'm glad she's alive, I guess. I don't know. Because he was, stabbing her up against their door the night before. Right. But, yes. And then she says, D suggests this. Hey, I'm not saying he should come down here, talking about, I assume, Gabe. Mm-hmm. But he might know someone who's in Miami or nearby who could nab this guy quietly when we land in Fort Lauderdale. I think there's like due process, and I don't think you can just like order someone. Like, hey, do you know anyone that could like throw a sack over someone's head and like zip tie their neck and throw them in the back of a black van? Like, yeah, I think I know someone. Hang on, let me make a quick phone call here.
Yeah, and a retired FBI guy, calling in those favors as well, being like, I don't know, man, that's a pretty tall order. Like, I'm gonna. That's a dark op, but you haven't worked here for 5 years. You don't remember how this works.
And who are we basing this on? Like, my new wife's quilting club is on a cruise, and they said that the guy is kind of suspicious. Oh, sure. Let me get right on that. Let's inject him with our brand new. Let's put an umbrella tip in his leg and poison him.
I'll get that Havana ray that they used the embassy to broadcast a crazy frequency that'll make him lose control of his bowels when he walks through customs.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I like that she said, I'm not saying he should come down here. They are, currently like 200 miles offshore in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's where he's going to come down to. Yes. I had to issue a stern settle down because you got a little self-aware here. Because Miranda says, and now the game was afoot. Oh, dear. Did I just say that?
Yeah, the turn to the camera there, I was not a fan of that either.
Yeah, it happens a couple times in here, but...
yeah. And then she says, so she warns the group, like, hey, this is what's going on, right? She tells everyone. And I don't know who she's on the cruise with. I wondered if you could rattle off the people she's on it with,
please.
Aside from D.
No, I can't. Sorry.
Okay.
I know that someone is notably not on it with them who couldn't come or couldn't afford to come or had a newborn or something.
Okay, right. But Shelby is with them.
Okay.
And she's like, okay, gang, we're going to, watch this Mike Lambert guy. The guy made eye contact with me. We got to bring him down, maybe nab him as he gets out. Anyway, Shelby blurted out, this is so cool. I didn't get in on the last investigation. While I applauded her enthusiasm, it scared me a little. I gave her a serious look. Remember, safety first. Do not put yourself in this guy's way. And my thought was just like, man, I hope Shelby just gets gunned down in cold blood, like the scarecrow dance, like just the machine gun just laying 9mm into her one after the other. Shelby, I told you not to get too close.
I think that's as much a cliche as the 3 days from retirement one, like the eager first timer. Like, doesn't happen in Die Hard 2? A guy's like, oh, I'm excited to do this, my first job. And then he just gets his throat slit by one of the other guys in the mission.
I can't wait to get into the action, Captain. Don't careful what you wish for, Private.
Might as well put on the red shirt. Yeah. Oh no!
But Shelby,
I think Shelby is the young one, or is she the Uggo who ironically got a job working at the beauty parlor? Is that one?
Oh, I did not look back at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that she said, she's like, they also suspect that this is small-time money laundering. Like they say, Mike is laundering money for some gang back in Florida. It's small-time compared to most. How on earth are you making that assumption? And compared to most what? The other money launderers that you're aware of? Like what you saw on Breaking Bad? But anyway, she says, oddly, I think some of our past adventurers have toughened the girls up. They scarcely blinked. And I just imagine, Queenie pulls out a knitting needle, stares her straight in the eye as she like cuts her palm with it. Like, okay, I'm worried that some of these adventures have toughened these girls up too much at this point in time.
Yeah, it's Tom Cruise getting the team back together. Like, we're off the grid on this one, guys.
Yeah, she certainly says that. She's like, there are nods of understanding. We are an independent group of females. It's like, you might as well, say we're a ragtag group of misfits banding together for one more job.
Ghost protocol, everyone. Wet work all the way.
Oh, God.
So she calls, I think reluctantly, she calls her husband, Gabe.
Correct.
Man, just the thought of Gabe. Anyway, she calls him and he answers, "Hey, babe." He's a babe guy. My husband's, so this sentence doubly made me choke. My husband's deep voice sent a delicious shiver through me.
Little textual ASMR there, raising the hair on your arms. Think they're maybe in for a little round of phone Jeopardy later. Speaking of delicious shivers.
Meanwhile, Harry the cat is wearing his underpants and smoking his pipe. What are you going to do about it, piece of shit?
Right, yeah. So if Harry is technically her husband reincarnated, all this stuff goes on in front of him. I don't know. Sometimes get that cat out of here. Close the door. He's sitting in a chair in the corner. Man, what is...
I will occasionally... I don't want to cast aspersions on anyone's, whatever you do, your names, whatever, but I will sometimes go to Bridget. "Hey, babe." And she's like, "Oh, God." Don't ever. "What, babe? What's the problem?"
What about the hubby and wifey people?
Ooh, never heard that one. I mean, I've never heard it live.
I don't know that I have either. I think that maybe you see that more of an online thing, or the wife. That's a good one, too. Mm-hmm. But... yeah, it's grim news, but hey, I don't know. Maybe if it gets a delicious shiver, you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna hey babe into that phone all day long.
He then he uses his deep voice, but then he says, "Good God, Miranda, money laundering in international waters." He huffed into the phone, so he's sort of doing your British huffing, like the
Well, that's good because that was a sonic challenge for you, huffing into the phone. So you just did
Good God, Miranda! Money laundering in international waters.
Money laundering? I scarcely can light my calabash.
I think that's how you huff. I mean, it's not the big bad wolf huffing and puffing, but that's...
I guess maybe it's just which, not a good way to sign off ever with your significant other.
Sure, right, yeah.
That's the end of 13. I don't have anything more.
No, he's going to put in some calls, I think, how that one ended.
Yeah.
Chapter 14, we go to Nassau, but do you want to do some real or fanfic before then?
Oh, right. Okay, let's go.
Fanfic. Real, fanfic, real, fanfic, 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 real, fanfic.
All right, so this is going to be head-to-head, real or fanfic, as we have done for the past few episodes. This is Josh and Colette who put this together for us. They curate the fanfic, or real, and then Colette reads them, and then we're both going to guess. It's been, I don't know. It's been good for both of us, I feel like, but good for one of us more than the other one. So.
Yeah. I'm down one, which is essentially like being down two because
right, to make it
up.
up.
We're playing baseball head to head, so yeah,
right.
I got
put up a crooked number last time.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, but anything can change. These are, who knows what's going to happen in his third of the book. Anything could surprise you. We also have this put out there by Jeff, who did recommend this book. He says, since you've decided to start competing against Mike in Real or Fanfic, I'm more willing to comb through the Quilter archive in order to provide extra content. But I'm not going to write multiple pieces of fanfic. So if you're interested, you could put it out there to other jackals. I'm interested in seeing what they can churn out when unbound by the constraints of plot. So he's saying he'll find real stuff from all the other books in the series, and they can write fanfic that could be from any other book. We could do it next time if we're down for it.
Wow. Well, that would kind of blow my mind.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe we should do that. But this is real or fanfic. These are all either potential excerpts from the last third of the Quilter's Cruise, or they are fanfic written in by our diabolical jackals who support the podcast on patreon.com/372 pages, where you get every episode early. You get to hear all the other nonsense that we put out that you can only get there, and we love them and we treasure them in this as the year ends. It's been another good year with the jackals. Mm-hmm. Let's get into this. Once again, there are going to be 5 of these, and I will take notes of them so we can do it as we go. Here we go. Number 1.
Number 1. Harry was a little put out that we weren't playing Jeopardy, but he sat in his recliner next to mine anyway. At one point, he laid a paw. I patted his head. "I'm okay, Harry," I said quietly, but I wasn't really. Tom had said that no group is entirely good or bad. All police aren't good. All murderers are not bad. There is no 100%. Really? I heard him. But quilters were supposed to be different. That's the way I felt.
Wow. Sort of a
morality?
Weird little... Quilters are moral, 100% moral. Murderers are sort of a mixed bag.
Yeah, that's...
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
What other hobbies do you have here that are going to give you 100% holiness in their thing?
Yeah, okay. Knife collectors, all good in my mind. All right, I'm ready to vote.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Real. Wow.
Okay.
Oh, man. So this, in theory, this comes at the end of the book, and we get this, a quilter did bad. Let's hear number 2.
Number 2. Dee came back to our room an hour and a half later with a huge grin on her face. It was wonderful. You're going to love it. It's so relaxing. I had to admit her face was glowing, but I was still skeptical that an hour and a half facial might be too long, even if, admittedly, I probably needed it after all I'd been through in the last couple of days. An average-looking woman greeted me with a thick German accent. "Mrs. Downing? Welcome. My name is Sophia. Please fill out this form, and then we can get started." I had to admit her skin was flawless, even if her English wasn't. As I lay down and had my face covered with a warm washcloth, I immediately noticed what Dee hadn't realized would be an issue for someone like me. There's no way to quilt while getting a facial.
All right.
I was getting restless already.
Oh, an average-looking woman with wonderful skin.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is an attempt to capture Miranda's cattiness, I think. But
yes.
That's
all right.
Right. 3, 2, 1.
Fanfic.
Yes.
Okay.
There should be a money round where you get double points for one that you're most certain of.
Oh, or like name that tune. Like I can tell you whether that's fanfic in how many words.
Yeah. I also think people are trying to pick ones that have unique accents for Colette to read here as well.
Yes.
They're like, what can we make her do that might get her in trouble?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. My lungs burned. I always knew my years of eating confectionaries and pastries would catch up to me, just never here. I panted harder and harder in the humidity. Then suddenly, the boardwalk stopped. I stood at a rail where the boardwalk, no pier, hung over the ocean. I looked back at the shore hundreds of feet away. Lambert raced towards me. I faced one decision: stay and fight, or shed my jeans and jump into the ocean. Mike wouldn't, couldn't swim in his get-up. I jumped over the railing and splashed in, praying I could do the backstroke. I wish I'd learned to swim better at the Y.
Wow.
Oh, playing on her fear. Okay. All right, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Real.
Fanfic.
Whew.
Okay, we split.
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be some sort of confrontation. I don't know why she has to take her jeans off before she can swim. Seems like that might give him some time to catch you. Damn it. I immediately regret that.
Gabe is like, take them jeans off, babe.
All right. Number 4.
Number 4. Although much of what she presented, such as burrito-style pillowcases, was familiar to us, she did show us how to make some lovely quilted ornaments. That triggered an urge in me to make some for our kids. My daughter Zoe and her husband Michael, and Gabe's son Kevin and his wife Terry. These young couples were starting to create their own holiday traditions, and the idea of handmade ornaments for their trees felt like it was right up my alley, so to speak. Belatedly, I realized I should have taken notes all week on the things that appealed to me. Sigh.
Ooh, that is tough.
Really good. Upper alley, so to speak.
Wow, so to speak.
Listing the children's names
Was
is
she
also
currently bowling? I don't know.
burrito style
the
too.
kid burrito style? Oh, this is tough, but I guess I just gotta.
Okay.
I just gotta do it.
3, 2, 1. Real. Wow.
Okay.
I
I
mean,
think
yeah,
we both might take a bath on that. All right.
yeah, it nailed the tone. All right, last one.
Number 5. After a few minutes, the pilot brought the helicopter down for a landing. Members of the ship's crew darted out to secure the helicopter after its blades stopped spinning. That's when I got the biggest surprise of all. The helicopter's door opened and 2 men in suits got out. The first to emerge was Gabe's old FBI friend, Tom Gibbons, and behind him was Gabe. My smile must have been contagious. He saw me as I ran up to him and smiled that big winning smile I love before hugging me. "Oh my God, you're here!" I exclaimed. "You didn't think you could keep an old lawman with a long arm from helping you fight crime on a quilting cruise, did you?"
Wow. Oh man. That's
Okay.
I like that. Like, if this is real, that means that, like, you know, some horrible crime or attack has happened, and she's still like lighting up as he's like striding off. You know,
Someone's
looking like,
still bleeding out right behind
yeah,
you.
exactly. My Gerald McRaney lookalike is here. All right. Ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
Fanfic.
Okay.
All right.
I just don't think that this author's clever enough to do the long arm of the law thing that they did in that bottom of that one, back of that one. So
I don't think so either, but we'll see.
So we diverged on one of these. All right, let's listen. The first one we both said real.
Number 1 was Miranda talking to Harry and reflecting on her feelings about quilters, and that was real.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh God.
Okay, good.
So,
We
not
get
all
that little
murderers. Yeah.
Weird morality play comes up. Okay.
I mean, is she talking about, you know, a soldier in the line of duty? Is she calling him a murderer just because he had to take
Murderer?
someone else's life? Like, you know,
I don't know.
shooting
the definitions here. Let's get into it.
you know, a robber who was breaking into your child's bedroom type of thing. I guess we'll find out. Number 2, we both said fanfic.
Number 2 was where Dee and Miranda got facials, and that was fanfic submitted by Ranvig. And I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I tried my best to look up the pronunciation. Number 3.
That's more than I did before I read about Ronvig's lutefisk photo that he sent. I remember they sent in earlier.
Okay. Is he Swedish or? I mean,
I don't remember.
lutefisk is Swedish, I think.
Huh.
Boy, I hope I'm not starting a fight between Sweden and
I don't
Norway.
remember, but thank you
and
for the
Denmark.
contributions and the lutefisk pictures.
Yes.
Number 3 is where you said fanfic and I said real. So this is all the marbles on this one.
Everything is on this.
3 is Miranda running away from Mike Lambert and jumping into the ocean, and that was fanfic
God!
submitted by Rick.
Come
Yes,
on.
I'm back, baby.
Come
I'm
on.
back.
Damn it. Oh, it seemed plausible enough. What? Oh, well.
Woo, I just, wow, we split the series in my home. All right.
And this fourth one, we both said real.
Number 4 is about Miranda's ideas for Christmas gifts for her children, and that was real. Number
So, all right, again, just like we said for the fifth one, some horrible thing has happened or is happening, and she's musing about her what ornaments to get for her children.
Wow.
Number 5, we both said fanfic.
All right.
5 is the helicopter landing and bringing Gabe to the boat, and that was real.
Whoa!
Submitted by Craig.
Oh,
Man.
wow.
How about that?
So we both took the hit?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so you got 4 out of 5 this time. I got 3 out of 5. That's deeply embarrassing. All right.
Holy cow. You just wanted Miranda to take her jeans off. Let's be honest about this.
I mean,
Please say that's real.
I keep asking, the Chat GPT to give me images of Kathy taking her jeans off, and they won't do it. They've banned me from 8 different accounts. So thank you everybody who submitted those. That was a good round.
Yeah,
now
great.
we
Thank you.
are at Cruise Day 4, Nassau. So we're going to Nassau, Bahamas. I can only hope that Aruba, Jamaica will be next.
Have you charted this? I haven't looked at their path. I assume it's not, the Van Morrison going through then we stopped and we got herring and potted meats. I assume this
impossible
is not
journey?
fake. Yes, I assume this is real, but I didn't look. I do know, cruise ships, they sometimes just like circle around, right?
Right.
Because it's like, well, we're going to get into port at 10 a.m. Like, well, we're basically just doing a circle around this little Nassau, and then we're going to go into the
we
port.
should look at the end. I'm sure it's a pretty standard itinerary, but it could look like Billy from Family Circus at the end of all this.
Sure.
A reference that I keep using.
You love that reference. Yes. So this is Gabe has, true to his word, that hunk. God, Gabe. Ugh. Just hearing him say babe, I'm tingling. Delicious.
Hearing him say babe is doing it for you.
Delicious. Tom Gibbons is the person who he gets a hold of and says, like, hey, Miranda, who may or may not have her jeans on, is down in Nassau. Could you give her a ring, and then, if you have a second, could you inject some guy with bleach and disappear him?
Yes.
And he's like, sure, no problem for you, old friend. When did you retire? Like 12 years ago?
This is highly unusual, but for an old friend.
But Gibbons is into Miranda and says, she says, I know for a fact that every time Gabe speaks with him, he tells him to give me a hug for him. Gabe always says no. So he's like doing the, hey, as long as I got you on the phone.
Yeah. He's the horny friend who's always...
Give me a hug. Tom, no.
Tom has mentioned from time to time that if I ever get sick of Gabe, I should give him a call. I think we probably both know that's not going to happen, but it's flattering. Gabe would not be happy I was working with Tom in any way, shape, or form without him nearby. So he's the one that's like sort of cornering her. She comes out of the bathroom at the Christmas party.
He's doing the hand against the wall.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going so quickly? You going back to that handsome gray-haired hunk of yours?
Yeah, he's like the Chris Finch or the James Wynn movies always have the horny friend sort of like doing the hump. You could give it to Miranda yesterday, like.
Stop doing that back there, Tom, please. I think I've told it on this podcast before that when we were newly married, there was a guy that I just like was in my periphery that I worked with him, and then Bridget was like, that guy can't come over anymore. I was like, oh, right, that's how it works. Okay. He's like, he's a creep. Like, okay, well, then he's out of my life. Surprisingly easy to do. You don't realize that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, but as opposed to Gabe, who's like, yeah, this is the guy that I'm putting you in touch with.
Yeah, I'm going to call him because he's first on my list. I mean, I assume he didn't go through like 5 people, and then it was like, oh, crap, I got to call Gibbons.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We know how this goes.
Yeah. What up, Tom? I mean, what up, Gabe? You dead yet? Because I'm putting in the moves as soon as the body's cold. So this was my favorite part of her conversation with Tom, the FBI agent in Miami. Miranda says, Tom says, "Don't tell me you have the other girls with you." And she says, "Of course, it's a quilting cruise. The Cutler Quilt Guild #1 is here in force, except for Brittany." So I imagined, Tom and, all the other FBI guys just taking a deep interest in Brittany, being like, "Guys, all right, take Brittany off the yarn wall there. Brittany is not there."
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously like any outgoing call is being recorded, and like the superiors are like, "Gibbons, come into my office, please. Have a seat. Noticed you called a quilting club." And
that's
put
true,
them on
sir, yes.
speakerphone.
Yes, it was a call from an ex-agent. You didn't record that call either? Well,
I'm not sure that protocol allows you to call quilting clubs.
It's just important. He has to turn over his badge and a gun. He's being escorted out of the building. "But, sir, you must know, if you're going to pursue this operation, Brittany is not on the cruise. It's key to the whole thing."
Get out of my office, Gibbons. But Brittany!
And
Brittany!
She did clarify that Diane is there. Diane is not a member of the Quilting Guild, sir.
Which is the one who's all gung ho? What was her name?
Oh, that was it wasn't Queenie. It was I don't remember.
Right, Queenie's there.
Yeah, and you're saying Queenie's the young one. Is Queenie married as Tom? I'm deeply interested in this.
But everybody's there. Could you describe what everyone's wearing? Tom, please. Can we get back to the money laundering?
He does say for the money laundering, like he hand waves away a bit more logistics. He's like, he won't have a ticket for more than $700, so nothing would attract attention to require the casino to report it. So per your thing about the Quinella you won, like this guy's keeping it underneath whatever level the casino is doing that. Although if he's handing in a stack of those at some point in time, I think they might be curious about that. Anyway,
right.
Though,
Yes.
But anything that you might have if you know about money laundering, they're saying it doesn't apply here.
I have a Sonic challenge. We passed over it. I just want you to just go back to this.
Okay.
Going back to this is Tom Gibbons. Perfect. He's like, not everyone's not on the phone with you, right? And she says yes. And he says, "Perfect," he replied, with no small amount of sarcasm. So that's what I think is important for you to nail Tom Gibbons, but I want you to do it with no small amount of sarcasm. So how much that is up to you, the voice actor in this Sonic challenge. So go ahead.
Perfect. That was no small amount. It was not a small amount.
It's true. No small amount is up to the person. No small amount. That was not a small amount.
Does that also mean a large amount?
It does not necessarily mean just whatever is larger than a small amount. So it could be a bunch. It could be a bit.
If you're watching the video, I did a full body eye roll as well as air quotes with both fingers. So
that was good. Sorry.
That was not be mistaken for a small amount of sarcasm.
And then I just want to remind you, this is the FBI agent is on speakerphone with the Quilters Circle #1. Is that what are they number?
Yeah, #1. I don't remember if that's a joke or not, but
they're on their cruise ship and they're on speakerphone, and think Gary Busey from Point Break or whatever, an FBI agent actively working on other cases.
He's signaling for a pencil.
Yes,
snapping
exactly.
his fingers.
Snapping. Come on, trace this. He says to them out loud, so it's like over the speakerphone. Miranda, everyone is there, Queenie? Okay, we might be able to flip him into turning over the bigger outfit if we don't spook him. He says to the quilting club.
Yeah,
that is just nuts.
Yeah, it's not him just being like, you stay in your room for the rest of this thing. If you interfere with this at all, yes, do not engage with this.
We've also just breezed past the fact this guy is money laundering is what we've learned, but it really could just be like, honey, I gotta change in this money because to get that washer dryer set that we're doing, I just want to it could be completely innocent and something. But they're just going balls to the wall with this. Yeah, he's a money laundering piece of trash,
right? But
FBI is for sure, we know
it is guy. One of those hotlines, that you can call in to report voter fraud or something that gets all the prank calls, and it just like FBI. I saw a guy money laundering. We'll be right there. Snipers are already trained on him. Okay, we just took the shot. He's done. Thank you. we didn't look into this for a second.
Yeah. So they follow him off the ship, right? Or they go to
They go to Nassau. The tall buildings of the Atlantis Resort to the left towered over the gorgeous city. Andy Rooney, I had been surprised to read that there were almost 250,000 people in Nassau. What number would have not surprised her in that situation?
The Andy Rooney game, it would have been, and that's why I gave my stapler to my friend Dave. How did you get there?
So I'd say one listener suspected they might have been consulting Fax King about the population of Nassau. Speaking of Lariana on the cruise.
Yes.
And then they get off. Mike takes off on a green scooter. Mm-hmm. They get in the taxi cab and say, follow that scooter, which we read in Real or Fanfic last time. Mm-hmm. And then they follow him to a casino where we get this. It's I would not have predicted this. I would have not have bet on it in Real or Fanfic, but you get a unexpected Chihuly interlude here. I'm gonna just put my art reputation to flames here and say I was not aware of this artist, this glass sculptor Chihuly. Were you?
I was, because I will say only because.
Does he have an installation in the Mall of America?
We were somewhere. Where the heck were we? Like in Florida with Bridget's 90-year-old mother. And it was like
Chihuly.
In the lobby of a hotel or something. Like, look at that glass sculpture. Like, yep, I hope it doesn't fall on my head. I hope that piece doesn't snap off right now like a large icicle and go right through my spine. But that's why. So that's the only reason I know it. I can't remember. I racked my brain. I'm like, where was that? That there was a big. So that's the only reason I know it. So when I looked it up and confirmed it, like, oh yes, that's exactly what I saw. Yes.
I looked it up. I mean, they're interesting. They might not be everyone's cup of tea. And Chihuly looks like an interesting person as well. He sort of looks like your, an elderly great aunt of yours, but also wearing an eye patch. So that was kind of nice to take. But I was
the glass
momentarily
sculpture guy who wears an eye patch was like,
yeah. Why isn't the book about him?
the one-handed fireworks salesman.
Ever since I saw the first one of his pieces, they have fascinated me. I have traveled several hours in different directions, Pittsburgh and Philly, to catch any exhibit which features these astonishing art creations. They are simply spectacular. I grabbed a couple of photos to send to Gabe, who knew about my fascination with Chihuly. Look, just marry the Chihuly sculpture, okay?
It would be terrible. I didn't look it up. I don't know what his name is, but if it was Jeff Chihuly, and then everyone's like, good job with bashing that skater on the knee. That's a different guy. I make glass sculptures.
Maybe that's why he opted for just the one last name. He's achieved that level of notoriety where he
doesn't need the eye patch. Like, I got to do something here. Got to differentiate myself.
Oh, man. If Miranda had a obsession with Jeff Galooly, that would also be would go. I would say fanfic 10 times out of 10. But I always liked that mustache of his. I tried to get Gabe to grow one, but he thought it was weird that I was obsessed with a criminal from 1994.
So they follow him, and then you probably have notes before this, but the big surprise of the day came when Dee pulled off her T-shirt, stepped out of her shorts and flip-flops, handed the pile to me, and jumped into the water slide that went down through a nurse and reef shark lagoon. That was the big surprise of the day. What? You're following a money launderer who may turn at any moment, with a screw on the thing and go pew, pew, and just kill you both.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that she went into the wading pool.
The tourist attraction that you, in theory, probably saw signs for, approached, bought a ticket to do that.
And she stood at the top and was and gave her ticket to the guy who was guiding her into the thing. What What? You're actually going down?
What?
I'm so surprised. That is the biggest surprise of the day.
And she saw sculptures by her favorite artist of all time. That had to have come as a surprise, too. Otherwise, you would have mentioned it because you were momentarily distracted by them.
The one thing we know she didn't do was win at bingo that day, because that's the
biggest thrill.
Biggest thrill of her life. That would have been, I don't know if that counts as a surprise.
And I did like clearly this is one of those things that like is a tunnel that goes through a tank, but I did imagine it, because what does it say? It went through a thing? Down through it, yeah. So if it just like deposited her into a shark tank, would have been pretty awesome. This is the best way to conquer your fear, Miranda. Full immersion in a shark tank,
where she was quickly consumed.
Then he goes into the casino. He comes out with a green duffel bag full of money, hops on another scooter, and then they hail another taxi cab. And I liked that the taxi. They take up cigarette boats. Familiar with that?
Yes, I am familiar with that.
Okay, they're just like what is that? Why are they called that?
A long, high-powered boat. I don't know. Maybe they used to smuggle on them.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the taxi cab driver, she's like, "What do they do with those boats?" And he's like, "They de fast boats for bringing in de drugs, ladies." It's like, would a if my mom got in a taxi in the Bahamas, would the guy say just like, "Those are the boats they use to traffic drugs"? Like, it doesn't seem like that'd be. You got to have better patter with these tourists here.
I do like his redirect, though. He goes, "I take you to the straw market for some nice shopping, yeah?" Like, come on, just play your part here. Just go to the straw market.
Right.
Why are you having me drive you around the cigarette boats?
Yeah. Tourists tried to buy drugs under bridge with them. They execute him gangland style just last week, lady. That makes me quite nervous, sir. Please stop.
But then she sees Mike Lambert, right? Down by the cigarette boats.
Yes, he's talking to a guy with them.
That is. Both see him. But she pulled out her phone to snap photos.
Yeah.
And many of the photos were blurry thanks to our moving taxi, so they weren't good. Mm-hmm. Did she really think that like a phone through a window of a cab?
Hey, that's all Tom needs to abduct this guy at customs. That's all the evidence he's going to need.
I mean, I'm a very bad amateur photographer, and to take anything, people often they are too far away from their subject. But using a phone camera through a window to someone out, I'm assuming 300 yards away, you can't see anything, which they acknowledge here. But it's really stupid.
Yeah,
it's like people at a ball field, like they're in the top row and then you see their phone come out. Like, would you stop trying to take a picture? A guy batting.
The Quilters bust Reggie Jackson for trying to kill Queen Elizabeth in The Naked Gun will be the next book in the series. From the nosebleeds, they get this evidence. But so they sit down at lunch to discuss the blurry photos when suddenly Judy and Shelby appeared, which, stop everything. This has now turned into a group of 4, which we all know you cannot travel around these cruise destinations in. It makes everything too complicated.
Split up. What are you doing? Judy is a name that did not register with. Shelby is the one who was all gung-ho, and she's obviously going to be murdered. But Judy... Any idea? What's Judy's distinguishing characteristic? Give me the sketch of her. When you picture Judy in your mind's eye, what do you see?
I picture my 5th grade teacher, Miss Hennigan.
Okay. I have no idea who Judy is.
Yeah, that doesn't ring any bells with me whatsoever. But Shelby is I believe the youngest member of the guild. I don't know if the beautician, the ironic beautician, is younger. Yeah. But Shelby just utterly gets destroyed here. Shelby also drove by on another scooter with Judy and took pictures of the guy of Mike with the duffel bag. Judy was desperately holding back giggles. Shelby looked at the pictures, then at us. D, never one to soft soap anyone, blurted out, "Well, it's not really any good, is it? I mean, that could belong to anyone. He's not in the picture, honey." So just like, bam! Like, Shelby's trying to aid in this investigation, and Dee just pretty much throws her phone into the water and says that's not going to help anybody.
She goes right back to her room and does throws herself down on the bed and does the beating on the pillow with her fist. Like,
If only she had soft soaped me.
I just wanted to be one of the quilters. The Cutler Quilting Club #1.
If that's what yeah.
This is the second time this happens, and I just want to... She wiggled her eyebrows dramatically. That's the second time.
Second eyebrow wiggle on at Nassau.
If this is going to be a thing, I'm going to need to prepare for that. I'm not... is this like Groucho Marx? Like, you know, like bending over and wiggling the cigar and the
turning to the
eyebrows?
camera.
Yeah, I see you standing over a hot stove, but I can't see the stove. Like, what... Is that what are they doing? Eyebrow wiggling?
The first eyebrow wiggle was like when they said maybe the guy likes aquariums. So like that's just, if it's just, maybe he likes fish, which like you know Troy McClure had a thing about fish, but like I don't think that's what they're implying with the suggestive eyebrow wiggle there.
I just don't like it. It's what is the previous in the Bat City where they like thumbing? Well, we had mustache thumbing in one.
Oh, yeah. Misty mustache thumbing in Tech Kill.
Thumbing in nose, doing things. But he had something in Bat City that was like that, where it was like, oh, pinching a nose to think, or so pinched his nose in thought or whatever. Like, what?
That's his doctor's home remedy for curing rabies. You pinch your nose and drink from the other side of a glass, and that gets the rabies out right away.
Yeah.
It turns out that Queenie and Sarah have also taken pictures of the guy. They did two drunk old ladies act out of Magnum PI. So they went up to the drug dealer and had them take pictures of them as the other one like waved the phone around and took pictures of Mike at the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe that probably was something she saw on Magnum PI if she's that specific about it.
Once when we were in Nashville, I think you were with me, and there was we went to, this is in the old days when Nashville was still, you know, pretty rough. Mm-hmm. And there was a barbecue place that was just like, you know, a guy behind, you know, a chain link fence.
An oil drum, yeah.
And outside was a guy with no shirt on and overalls, and then like the one strap wasn't on, and he had like just a giant red gut. And I tried to do the... hey, stand over, let me get a picture of you. And the guy was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, immediately busted me. I was like, nothing, sir. Have a wonderful day.
He had George Clooney's level of paparazzi awareness.
Yes. I was embarrassed. I just thought it would be, you know, local color.
Well, I did that.
Get the hell out of here, boy.
I pretty much did that to a corgi in a Christmas sweater last weekend. So
okay,
I fared better than you. He did not come up and bite me.
So Queenie and Shelby are there. Here's their little gag here. Works for me, Queenie stood. Tell you what, why don't we all skip dessert and meet at the pie shop for pie and ice cream, say around 8? We deserve it, Shelby chirped. And everyone laughed. Like, why do we even attempt to write jokes if everyone laughed at that? Like, we sit there and craft things and try to make them like, what if we say this word, it might be 11% funnier for certain people. Like, why don't we just say pie shop?
Yeah, broads like pie. That's what we're going to say. Yes. Like, oh my God. And and then the next sentence after that is... both, you know, Geis Whitey and Kleinian at the same time. After another delicious meal, we joined up and had to choose the kind of pie we wanted. I won't elaborate, parentheses, drool factor, but we did share and exchange the kinds of pie. My fave was the coconut lime custard, actually, with coconut sherbet on the side. Oops. So she just refused to tell us what kind of pies that they would eat because of the drool factor. That's incredible.
What's the oops? I don't actually get that.
Maybe she did. Maybe it's like, I won't tell you, and then she.
She told us like, whoopsie, you're drooling. Because I described coconut lime custard with coconut sherbet on the side. Sherbet, sorry.
I was drooling the moment Gabe called you babe. So the joke's on you. It hasn't stopped.
Yeah, the whole time.
It's reached my desk at this point in time. And then, speaking of, if you weren't drooling from the pod, you will now. She texts Gabe, informs him what's going on, and she replied, I'm used to that. As long as you're happy and with me, I'm good. And Gabe says, I am. And I will prove it to you when you come home. Counting the hours. I know I'm a soft touch, but I got a little misty. That's not what happened to me. Man, so drool factor.
Your voice was delicious when you did that. A delicious shiver went through me.
God.
Chapter 15?
Yeah, Coco K, Cruise Day 5.
Coco K, by the way, would be a good name for
the proprietor of a Christmas Town pie shop?
I think so.
Yeah, really.
So they go to a seminar, right? I think
Quilting B, I think.
Oh, okay. 12 long quilting frames stretched end to end across the space. Brightly colored quilt tops. Okay, I hope I'm getting this right. Quilt tops, bat, and backing were stretched over each frame. There were needles and baskets of thread and thimbles on the side tables. On the ship? So when they arrived, were they like Billy Zane and Kate Winslet? Bring my steamer trunks in, my good man. I have 12 quilting frames stretched end to end.
I mean, I guess on the geek cruise, they've got to unload the Warhammer figures or whatever you geeks are playing these days. But yeah, I mean,
I just don't know how long is a quilting frame that there were 12 of them stretched end to end across the space.
It would be
Quilts
impressive.
are the size of a bed, right? So
yeah,
bigger than a bed. So 12 of them.
They didn't sell like 100 rooms on this thing to be able to make room for all the quilting supplies. There's just like one ballroom filled with bat alone.
Yes. Oh, don't! That kind of bat will not get you rabies. You're okay.
Oh, phew, yeah, BATT.
Yes,
yeah, that's one you can nuzzle up to. I am just glad that they do get quilting here because it's you sort of promised it to people, and this chapter does deliver. They make quilts that they're going to auction off with proceeds going to the Fort Lauderdale Children's Hospital. And Miranda says, it was impressive to see how quickly these quilters seemed to know what they were doing. I was glad I hadn't joined, even though I do hand quilt. I was nowhere near the speed or caliber of these quilters. So are these quilters just like, I wouldn't wipe my butt with a Cutler quilt like this. How bad could you be? It's your entire personality. Like it's these...
There's a series of books about you.
And she also does add, there were no men, in case you were wondering. It wasn't really on the, my mind is elsewhere on the ship, like the murder and money laundering. I believe that male quilters I've met are more drawn to the drafting and technical skills of quilting than the hand quilting aspect. Thank you for clarifying.
Well, I was just going to say, I think you and I should take up quilting because of this nonsense.
Yeah.
No men, in case you were wondering. I'm going to just push my way into the Cutler Quilting Club #1 and go, yeah, what kind of crap is this? I'm not just a long arm person. I can freehand or whatever the hell. I don't even need a thimble. Who is this man?
If your winter challenge to yourself was to, take up quilting and see what the result would be come the snow melt in Minnesota, that would be I'm sure our listeners would be quite interested to see the progress you'd be able to make.
Well, I guess I'll have to go buy a quilt and pretend to do this now.
Yes. Long arms cost how much? Well, I'm ruined.
Yes. Honey, what are you doing down there? Look, it's for the podcast.
Damn it. Yeah. What, did you set some sort of goal where if you achieved 10,000 listeners, you would do this? No, I made an offhand comment. Conor challenged me, and now I have to do it.
Well, it's better than reading that book. I still have to read the book.
So they get off at Coco K and go to the beach. Is that what happens next?
Yes.
And she makes the critical error of going off on her own here. Maybe going off on my own was a foolish thing to do, but for heaven's sake, it was a small island with a ship full of people all around. So once again, to her, small setting equals no crime. Small town, small island, like nothing bad could happen, even though someone has directly already threatened me on this ship, like while I've been alone with him on the large ship.
But this is her plan as they get ready to leave here. Dee gave me a look that said she was ready to go. Checking my watch, I saw that it was after 10. She wanted to stop at the pharmacy on board and take another look at a scarf in one of the shops. You are an extension of the FBI now. You don't get to just go look at another scarf.
Yeah, right.
Hey, should we track down these the top 10 criminals? Or, you know what? There's a delicious scarf in that window that I want to take a look at. You are hunting a fugitive.
Yeah, who's covering the western side of Kaczynski's cabin? Oh, I'm sorry, he's buying a Montana T-shirt at the gift shop. He just wanted to take a look at it.
Yes. He escaped with all of his explosives.
Damn it, D. And his hoodie. He took his hoodie with him. They'll never be able to find him now. So he does get approached. Like she's there, reading her cozy mystery on the beach. Mike Lambert walks up to her right away and flops down in the sand. And he starts. She's digging through her whistles, which she keeps with her. And he says, "I've got a lot of friends in a lot of places." He pulled out a phone and showed me the picture I had sent Tom the day before. "You really need to stay out of my business." So he's directly threatening her and evidently has a in to the Miami FBI office that Tom is working at.
Mm-hmm. Also, by the way, she went to that beach and she dozed contentedly until she realized that her sunscreen was wearing off. How do you wake yourself up realizing your sunscreen is worn? Just tossing and turning like, boy, it is sure warm, but my sunscreen's wearing off.
And talk about you've gone to you've had a busy day of looking at a scarf and going to a pharmacy. So now you've really earned this nap you're having.
Yes.
And what is Dee going at the pharmacy for? I guess it's international waters. So, like, is she just going to be like, I got to stock up on tramadol and horse tranquilizers while I'm here? Like, can't buy these back home without a prescription. And my crooked doctor who used to write it for me, he got rung up by the quilters in book 6.
She said to Tom Gibbons before she left, "Are you trying to tell me the FBI is going to pay me to nap?"
The FBI is going to pay me to learn to redwork? But Mike's threats are interrupted by a brunette woman walking up and being like, "Do you mind if I sit down here?" So she swoops in as a guardian angel for Miranda here.
Mm-hmm. Just a brunette woman. No other description of that.
Yeah, the only description. And so she sort of takes that as Mike makes himself scarce. They have a concept that it does say her chuckling and saying men, which if that doesn't happen in every single quilter book, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah. She goes back and she sees she sees her friends,
Lori and Ginny. These are the other two quilt instructors.
Oh,
Lori
the
is
instructors.
Lori's the one who's married to Mike.
My drink came and I took a good gulp. It was quite tasty until the alcohol hit my stomach and bounced back up. What is happening here?
It very much sounds like she barfed all over the tiki
barfed
bar.
all over everything, but only like the drink was good, but then the alcohol was in a separate layer, and then that hit her stomach and then bounced. So the guy was like carefully layering her drink and like, I'm going to put the alcohol so it rides right on the top.
A little float of cruising rum at the top.
And then when she drinks that, it'll bounce back up.
Well, she's not going to soft soap things here, Mike. That's just
true.
She tells
She
it like
wasn't.
it is.
Yeah.
And she explains to her that like the FBI is now, she says, going to be waiting for us essentially, or like, how are you going to get all this money back in? And she says this is the only innovation here, because she's like, we do have to go through customs, but then they say they don't search staff, which if you're going to hand wave stuff, that seems wildly unlikely.
Seems extremely unlikely. When you go into international waters, they're probably even more like...
Yeah. So like the 22-year-old, jazzercise instructor and bartenders on this boat who are just there to like, they're like, yeah, like buying cocaine in the Bahamas because they know they don't get searched when you bring it back up. We told the story about my friends getting searched, bringing booze in a contact lens bottle. Anyway, the main scheme here that Laurie says is when we land at Fort Lauderdale, the money is inside my backup sewing machine. It's a fake. It's hollow. So per your Billy Zane steamer trunk thing, Laurie is bringing 2 sewing machines with her. Like Lauren has one. They're one of the heaviest appliances you can get. They're like a KitchenAid mixer in terms of concentrated weight and something.
And also, 2 sewing machines of money? How much are we talking? That's not very much money.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if he's doing $500, $100 bills, I don't know. But
you ever read about those where robberies? The people don't realize, like, they've got $12 million just sitting there at the loading dock. We pull up with our van, and then they get there, they realize, we need 3 vans. We need 17 more guys.
We're going to need 97 sewing machines. That won't raise any eyebrows at customs.
So that just struck me as like, no matter how big the bills are, you're not getting a lot of money. You truly are a small time crook.
For you to imply that Mary Devlin Lynch and Beth Devlin Kuhn have not done their research here is frankly just insulting. But yeah, I guess small time is the answer because they keep saying that. But then it goes to the captain's dinner.
Yes. A lot going on here. I'm just going to read it. First, I texted Dee to let her know I was going back. She replied that she was with Judy, remember her, your teacher, and would see me for dinner. Tonight was the captain's dinner, and we got to dress up. I guess we got to means like a privilege. We get to dress up.
Yeah, they had a guy that was like, take that off. I need you to look more like a slob at dinner tonight because it's not the captain's dinner.
I took a long, hot shower and a nap, and my spirits started to rise. It's like during the nap? Was your sunscreen wearing off? Is that how you noticed that? I decided not to mention my run-in with Lambert to anyone else. They could only worry and watch me closer, which I didn't need.
Again.
What?
Direct FBI informant here who's withholding evidence from other people who are endangered by the criminal that she's sending them out to keep an eye on.
I only thought about who the mole was, and that'll come up quickly, but I took a guess.
Okay.
I think it's D. This was my guess. But anyway, we shall get to it. Our reading encompasses the mole, so we
right.
Get
Yeah. No, that would be incredible. Twists like that would just burn the series to the ground at some point in time. Like, Miranda and D in the face-off Mexican standoff kind of thing. So she calls Gabe. She tells him there's a mole in the unit. And then this is, how the chapter ends. Like, I bet this caught you by surprise because this was entirely unexpected.
Yeah.
That was all I could do for now. I made a trip to the casino, questionable, and played slots, the one machine the guy is playing that you might encounter him at, for an hour after looking around carefully to make sure Lambert wasn't there. I came out about even, but it was relaxing. Can't believe that there's a Monty Python machine. Run away! So just
what?
The little so you didn't get it, is why I assume your confusion is. That's I think a deep cut Monty Python reference there.
No,
refers to the Monty Python movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Not many people have seen it, but at some point in time they do say run away when there is a danger they encounter. And,
okay. I didn't go to college with losers who drank out of leather mugs, so I didn't know that. Well, she might as well have started doing the nights that say knee, and then we could have thrown the book even further across the room.
That's the Mexican standoff with Dee being like, I can't believe it came to this, Dee. Remember when we used to quote Monty Python? Tears running down Dee's face. Knee!
You would correct me when I got something wrong about what the rabbit did. Remember that?
And those were her last words. Knee.
So that was relaxing for her to sit and play assuming she played the slot machine, the Monty Python slot machine.
I didn't play it. I just liked seeing that it was there. Man, if the slot machine makes that noise every time you put the casino sounds they make, it was just a constant stream of knee and quotes from Holy Grail. That would be take an axe to the machine as soon as you enter the casino.
She was playing the Simpsons one, so it was like, don't have a cow, man, and
You
she
lose.
was like,
Dough!
and that machine next to me is really bothering me.
Excellent. Chapter 16 is discusses Tom, who admits that he has a suspicion about who the mole might be.
Yeah.
Jeff admitted to Tom that he had suspicions about a guy who had recently transferred in from New York, which makes sense. There's a lot of interstates in New York, so bad characters. Mm-hmm. He was young, married, and had 2 small kids. Moving to Miami didn't seem to make much sense since it wasn't a promotion. It's like, yeah, who would want to leave, New York to move to the hellscape of Miami with its abundant, vibrant culture and perfect weather? And
He's the guy from Harlem, right? He was from there.
Oh, wow. Yes, he left Harlem because there was too many detectives. There's precedent for this.
Exactly.
Wow, yes. It was the experienced playground for detectives.
detectives.
There were too many detectives, so he had to move to Miami. And beautiful women, great food. Why would he move there?
That was in the first, so it goes off the cruise ship and it goes to this chapter 16, and then there's a couple dozen words in which Tom, Gabe, Jeff, and John are just mentioned.
And the criminal's name is Mike, so you just have a gallery of generic guy names to...
My brothers are named Tom and Jeff, by the way. And I'm
nice.
Mike, so my
Perfect.
parents not going too far from my
from the quilter spin the wheel of quilter characters.
My middle name is John, so good job, parents. You're
Perfect.
really stretching your wings there.
Well, anyway, so then they determined it's this guy who moved to Miami from New York, and Jeff comes and says, "The jig is up, John." It's a real FBI talk. I don't know what you mean, the young man shifted in his seat. Are you telling me you didn't see this picture yesterday? I don't think so. You sure about that? Maybe I did. So, you assume these FBI agents have some level of, a friend of mine who works in the State Department, they have kidnapping, demonstrations or how to, get out of a trunk. But this FBI guy, all he has to do to get him to cave is to say, "Are you sure about that?"
Shifts in his seat, starts sweating, tugging on the collar, full Nathan Thurm. I don't know why you would say that. Why would you say that?
He gets abducted by a foreign evil actor government, and they don't even have to sharpen the bamboo to put under his fingernails. He's revealing state secrets as soon as they just "What do you want to drink?" "I'll tell. I'll talk." And then we get this, and you will be very excited to learn about what's coming here. He tells him to get his phone so that the good guy, Tom, can look through the bad guy's, Jeff's phone. And he says a few minutes later, they were back with Jeff. The man scrolled through the texts and then sighed as he showed John the screen. So John is looking through his texts, and they have not been super active lately. And even people commented to us that the dark web was sort of getting frustrated with our lack of consulting them on things.
Oh, they did. Did they text you or through the site?
No, a commenter on Patreon said, "Hey, the dark web guys are getting pretty upset that you guys haven't contacted them in a while."
Makes sense, yeah.
And it's I tried to decompress. It's the end of the year. You're sort of trying to just focus on what's important. I hadn't been on the dark web in a long time.
That's true.
But I was very curious about what this scene looked like, scrolling through the texts on Jeff's phone to find this picture of the guy Mike on the thing. What might have been on there. I asked the dark web if there was any way they could sort of hack into this fictional character's phone and find this.
Sure. How do you ask the dark web that? I'm just curious, as a technical thing, how would I do that when I want to ask? Do I do like my mother-in-law and I hold up the phone this far away from my... Siri, where is there a place I could get a drink that's not too expensive, but it's near a lake, but not, I don't want to be on the lake. Is it kind of like that?
It's 100% like that.
Hey, dark web.
But you have to burn through some helium tokens, the cryptocurrency,
all right.
in order to put. That's how they want payment these days.
Luckily, we both have a lot.
We've got to really talk that thing up, man. It's eating us alive here. So yeah, they only accept helium, and they were willing to do it. They were not willing just to provide me with what the text said on the phone. They were willing to I would just give you a list of what the text said. They went and recreated the conversation of the guy getting the texts and sent it to me.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
a little extra oomph from there. But I think they were just sort of, had been fidgety and waiting to do another one of these reenactments. So
Thanks,
they
Dark Web.
willing to do it. So
Yeah.
this is, sorry, they're all the same name. So Tom, the FBI agent, scrolling through the texts on Jeff's phone after he's looking for the photo of Mike on the cruise ship.
Right. I'll tell you what, John. We can clear all this up if you just let me have a look at your text message history.
Sure. It's locked in my desk like it's supposed to be when I'm on duty.
No, I'll come with you. Wouldn't want you to accidentally push a wrong button or drop it, would we?
No, sir. Okay, well, here it is.
Okay. Unlock it for me.
There you go, huh?
All right. Let's see these texts. Happy birthday, Nick. Okay. Want me to pick up Ty on the way home. Okay. Save 10% on your first order at batteries.com with coupon code VERSE10. You signed up for text message alerts from batteries.com?
Well, I mean, yeah, you're really just leaving money on the table if you don't. So
Yeah, I mean, I've signed up for text alerts to get a coupon code before, but then you immediately text back stop once they send it.
Look, you caught me leaking information. I admit it.
You've received 946 texts from batteries.com? They're in your favorite contacts? Oh my God. Your emoji responding to their texts.
I can just go and report to internal affairs.
They sent a picture of a battery seeing its shadow on Groundhog Day, and you responded with a cry laugh. Nobody is seeing these responses.
I mean, you don't know that.
You're replying with your own Bitmoji? Placing unanswered FaceTime calls? Please wish Mr. Battery a happy birthday?
Yeah. Mr. Battery, that's their mascot.
How do you know when his birthday is?
Well, there is actually, turns out, a lot of lore in these batteries.com texts. So
This is sick stuff. Oh no, you didn't. That's your...
Yeah, that's my...
Yeah, and you sent this pic to batteries.com.
Well, they were leading me on.
The message right before this says batteries.com honors Giving Tuesday by donating 2% of all battery orders to the Greater Massachusetts Turtle Rescue Program.
Yeah,
How is that leading you on?
I mean, you'd have to understand the context, the time of day that they sent it. I'd had some wine, so it was not really my finest hour.
Okay, I think I've read enough of that thread. Let's see what else is on here. Can Dr. Grant reschedule my dentist cleaning for next Tuesday? Okay. Want to catch the game this weekend? All right. Hey, Pete, can you subscribe to texts from batteries.com because they haven't sent any texts in like 8 hours and I'm worried something has happened to them? Oh, come on, man.
Well, it was the worst 8 hours of my life.
Scroll down. Your DoorDash order is on its way. Neighborhood ring alert. Lost German Shepherd on Park Street. Save 10% on your first order at batteries.com with coupon code VERSE10. You already got this one.
Yeah, but I signed up with my Google Voice number to get another 10% code. It's pretty clever if you ask me.
And did you... Yep, you sent one to this number as well.
Well, I mean, you got to shoot your shot, right? Yeah.
You're extremely fired.
I understand.
I'm going to need to keep your phone for evidence.
What? Who was that from? Who texted? Is it from Mr. Battery?
I'm afraid I can't give this back to you.
No, come on. You got it. Did he respond? What did he say?
Goons, drag this ex-agent out of my office.
Did he send one back? Is it also a battery? Tell me.
You fool. 10% off, 24 double A's. Here I come. What the hell? The shipping is more than the discount. Screw it. I'll just go to Walmart. Wow. I mean,
it's the dark web was, they deliver.
Yeah. Thank you, Dark Web. I'm glad you're back. We're going to use you a lot more now. Thank you.
Based on the quality work they provided there.
Well, plus I got a lot of helium bucks I got to burn through. So.
That's like using Zimbabwean currency. We've got $1 trillion worth of helium that just won't. It buys you 90 seconds of Dark Web reenactments.
Yeah, and you look at the value of it every day. You're like, why am I hanging on to this? Let's get rid of this.
I will burn the source on that. Batteries.com is a email that one time my friend Adam, our friend, you know him, revealed that he was on their list for, and that was like 15 years ago. It does not appear that it is currently a business anymore.
Oh, shoot.
So if anyone's out there, it seems like a valuable domain name. But anyway, moving on from the dark web. This is the crux of this whole mole in the FBI.
Yes, whose name is John.
John.
Yes.
Who's
Jeff?
Yes. Jeff is Tom's assistant,
okay.
who I believe was just introduced in this. Jeff Darton, who has known Tom for 30 years and is the one person he knows he can trust.
So the one thing that struck me about this is, like, oh gosh, like I said, I thought the leaker was like D or something. Like, wow, wouldn't that be great? Their little standoff at the. As she disappears down the that slide, like, I'm going in with the sharks, and soon you'd better, I can't believe it was you, D. And then just, takes off her jeans and follows her down into the shark tank, and
that's the sharks, not canon.
Yeah, the shark's tank breaks, and then the sharks get in with them. Like,
a shark falls on Queenie, and
she tries to save D's life, right? And then she confesses, it was for the scarf money. I needed the scarf money.
Leave my Redwork to your new grandson, who you only mentioned once and didn't even tell us his name. Your family, who are creating their own traditions, would love to have this.
Tell Harry the cat he needs to go up a prescription in his cheaters to 1.5. Okay. But it just happened so quickly, and then like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was like a Hallmark movie moment. Wow, there's a mole? And then like, oh, the mole is taken care of. Okay, gotcha. Right.
I'll also add, it's like Hallmark. It's like a cozy mystery. It's also pretty much how Lost works. How did this happen? Oh, how did the plane crash? A guy you'd never heard of was in a place you'd never seen, and he did it.
Right.
End of season. Like,
Yes.
But at least Jeff has an explanation here.
Yes, he certainly does.
So he has a picture. He had texted it to a number, and they're like, "Why don't we give this number a call?" And he says, "No, don't, please. You don't understand. That will prove to be true. You don't understand. My wife is Cuban. They tracked down her abuela, grandmother. They know where she lives. They said they'd kill her if I didn't make this move and do what they asked. They promised no one would get hurt." So I tried to parse this out in real English. The Cuban mafia arranged for Jeff to move from New York to Miami by threatening his wife's abuela, saying they'd kill her if he didn't move from New York to Miami, so that on the off chance they would have a guy in the FBI office, on the off chance that someone who also has an FBI connection sees a low-level money launderer on a quilting cruise, reaches out to her FBI connection who does not work in Miami but knows someone who does, who he puts the phone call into the Miami guy. Jeff is there to mull this out, I guess, to the Cuban mafia.
And slightly incongruous, they said they'd kill her if I didn't make this move. They promised no one would get hurt. I mean, if they did that, it would be like, oh, well, then I'm not going to make the move.
Your logical fallacy has betrayed your plans, Cuban Mafia. If you promise no one will get hurt, the abuela is safe.
In the meanwhile, the quilters are eating, like, seedless watermelon for the first time. Drool. Am I right? Well, this guy's squirming in his chair, like, look. They made me do it. Abuela, my wife's abuela.
Please. And it's also, I mean, so like his wife is Cuban. Miami seems like an ideal place They were like, why is he moving down here? Oh, his wife's Cuban. She probably has family in the area. Ah, there we go. Problem solved. Nothing suspicious about his move from New York to Miami.
Okay.
They tracked down her. Is she also in Miami? Like, is the abuela in deep cover somewhere in like Des Moines to like, I don't know.
And
I
like,
hope we get
the Cuban mafia, as their mob, is like, what? I'm just looking over our spending sheets. We have an FBI mole that is costing us so much money. We had to move him. We're giving him full expenses. We're bribing him. I've also got a gun to his wife's abuela's head. Is this money well spent? Because the guy, the sewing machine lady, is only bringing back like $8,000. Like,
low level, extremely low level money launderer. I mean, the cruise tickets, I guess, he's just staff. But, I mean, how many more of these guys do we have? Because, I mean, how long has he been there?
I feel like we could cut them all and we'd still be okay.
The FBI was not a promotion, so they provided it with no moving expenses. We got, we had packers. We didn't just have movers. We had the guys that come in and packed his stuff
we did
for him.
white glove packing for this guy. He didn't have to touch anything. He lived at a hotel for a week.
I mean, Scarface, it's not like he was really looking at a budget either. You saw that house he lived in and that pile of cocaine.
That's true.
This Cuban mafia is not known for their spendthrift ways.
I don't want to soft soap it, but they seem to be wasting money.
Is that an expression you'd heard of before?
It is, but it's pretty old-timey.
Nice. It does, yeah. You can imagine Norm saying it,
Yes.
at Bob Saget's roast. I'm not here to soft soap things, Bob, but... and so then they this whole chapter ends with I guess Jeff's last name is Roberts. But they're escorting him out. He's going to send him to internal affairs. Tom opened the door for Roberts, and the mole says, "It's a relief, really. Now that I am of no use to them, they will leave me and my family alone. At least they'll be safe." Standard mafia policy.
The mafia,
right?
known for being like, well, he really doesn't. But he gave us up. Like, I know, but forgive and forget.
He's of no use to us now. Yeah, let's relocate him back to New York. That's where he really felt at home.
Oh, you don't know how much that's going to cost us? I don't care. I want that man back in his home.
He never took to the Marlins. He's still a Yankees fan at heart, so it's the right thing to do.
I have the address of his abuela right here. Shh, tear it up. We do not care about that anymore.
So, perfect. A perfectly cozy understanding of how the Cuban mafia works here.
The leak was solved is the last. So there you go. Into chapter 17.
Chapter 17, last chapter of the book. Let's figure this one out. It turns out that the brunette woman from the beach, who is still identified as the brunette on the beach, is Special Agent Janet Lowry, FBI Miami. So you deeply have to be suspicious of, is this also another Cuban mafia plant? Where did they move her from San Diego to be in Miami in another office?
Hey, Janet Lowry, Special Agent, I want you to follow the sewing machine lady's husband around. Like, I went through the academy just like everyone else. Do I really have to get on? Yep.
You're telling me the FBI is going to teach me to sunbathe?
The brunette on the beach, by the way, had to be an Elvis movie in the 60s, right?
Yep.
When the colonel was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to get up there and dance with whoever on that stage. And
I'm
the brunette on the beach.
Recording artist in the world. Make clam bake. That's what the kids want.
I don't want to do brunette on the beach. I mean, the Beatles are like, get up there and dance with that woman.
All right, as long as I can marry a 14-year-old.
Yes.
I never heard your Elvis impression. That's damn good. I don't know why I suspected otherwise.
Okay, so they go to the captain's dinner.
Yes, at about damn time. They've been teasing this captain's dinner for a long. They mentioned in like the third chapter.
So here's the question: who are you picturing here as I describe this?
Okay.
The captain was as tall and handsome as you could want him to be. That's you. I'm looking at you, Conor.
Okay.
He introduced himself told a few funny stories, and encouraged us all to have a good time. All right, who is this guy?
I mean, so I'm, going to John Hamm, a square-jawed,
Okay.
charming guy.
I had Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
Ted Danson, Cary Grant. The Vince Vaughn sort of based on, a young him, like chatting everyone up. Like,
yeah.
look at you, look like you could run a long arm. You know what I'm talking about?
Holding court, sure.
Yeah. I got a funny story. One time I was quilting, like, look at this one over here. She knows that I'm talking about the quilting. Yeah. They're all
He does a good point pointing at someone else. They know what I'm talking about, kind of thing.
Exactly.
You could
this
also
guy over here is like, whoosh, I don't know what a long arm is. Dude, I'm okay. You're okay. I love you, baby. Oh, give me a kiss.
He just filmed a series that was in Key West called Bad Monkey, based on a Carl Hiaasen movie. So maybe that's what they're going for, retroactively. Also, you could picture the "I'm going to sink this bitch" guy from Titanic.
Sure,
might be a little more accurate to what this guy ended up looking like.
A few funny stories, though.
Yes. So John Hamm, Vince Vaughn is there, and they've just told a story about. A shuffleboard incident where someone scoring was mistaken and they thought they had won, but then an 8-year-old actually came along and beat them. And he's like, "Thank you, that'll be good night." And then off camera, someone's like, "One more." He's like, I mean,
and
I also
that
got
man was, like, oh, that's it. And then the golf clap for the funny story.
Yeah,
all right, have a good time tonight.
Tell one more.
Oh, shoot. Okay,
that was really funny. We want another one. Yeah, a few funny. I guess he's just that handsome. Maybe he's just one of those people that's so attractive that, like, people they're laughing before he's done talking. The benefit of the doubt for the good looks.
Yes.
Anyway, the captain's dinner is fantastic. They describe the dessert, of course, which is flaming baked Alaska, and described as quite tasty.
When she goes to the table, by the way, everyone was looking quite pink and healthy. Everyone was smiling, and I intended to keep it that way. The Smile franchise is like everyone's like all pink and like looking at her like, "What are you doing?" "We're all good. How are you?"
Yeah, you should have really attended the seminar we were at today. It was very eye-opening. It turns out you could do Redwork in green now.
The captain told some funny stories. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Don't eat the baked Alaska. That's what turns you into the Stepford wife. But then we get this. So, Gabe was making her feel all tingly. But then there's dancing. And since we were short on fellas, several gentlemen offered a dance. I surprised everyone by accepting. And she dances with a tall, silver-haired gent whose wife had sprained her ankle going down a water slide. So she, the wife gives a wave with her crutches behind her as she's dancing with this other silver fox.
I took issue with this woman. I breathed out in relief. Broken ankle? Nah, just a bad sprain. But she is sorry to miss the dancing. By the time we get home, she'll be able to lose the crutches. So a little long-distance diagnosis there. Okay. In the past 2 years, I would just point out, I have had a bad sprain, and I have broken my ankle.
Uh-huh.
I was not able to lose the crutches at the behest of some woman sitting at the captain's table looking all pink and healthy.
Yeah, and so
both are hell. Both are absolute, utter hell, and the recovery is a long time, and it is not to be laughed at as, just a bad sprain. Bad sprains are awful.
So that happened earlier this afternoon. You're on the ship, and some silver-haired guys, chatting up Bridget dancing, and they're like yucking it up, and then you just sort of wave your crutches and smile.
It's just a bad sprain.
Then again, we know there is a in-house pharmacy, so maybe she loaded up on whatever Ecuadorian tranquilizers you can't get in America, and you're able to.
No, man, we use those for horses. I don't care.
I just lose the crutches as soon as I get home. Look at that quilter she's dancing with. Imagine the silver-haired fox just being like, dancing isn't all she's willing to watch. So I don't.
Dribble out of those Bobby Brooks jeans.
Oh, God. I will not lie. I read the lyrics to that, I believe, yesterday, and it was like, this is a terrible song. Yeah,
why were you reading?
I don't want to spoil evidence or something we're doing later, but
okay.
I had an idea that I needed to know the subtle nuances of Jack and Diane. But
so you read all about sucking on chili dogs.
It's
mostly what you did.
Giant takeaway. There was an XKCD cartoon that focuses on that as well. So I feel good when other people that are funny make light of things that we also enjoy. And then so they dance. His name was Charles. We just get another guy's name thrown at us because there weren't enough of those in the last chapter. And she's almost to her room when a dark shadow appeared in front of me. Zinc on the nose, straw hat. The kind they make from palm fronds. A guy on the beach will make for you while you wait.
And she says, like, he simply pointed his hand at me in the shape of a gun, and then he was gone. I figured he was just doing there's that little lady. Take it easy now. I'm going to see you later. Like, got 2 drinks. No, this one's from my friend. No, seriously. I'm not kidding.
I saw you said my Python machine's a holy hand grenade, right? Remember they see that? And then they meet Tim.
Oh, yeah, that's so great.
God. Graham Chapman died. We lost him too young.
All right, I'm going to run away now.
He just flies down the whole time, and it's like she's haunted, wondering if that was intentional the entire evening. But then it ends with, she wonders where Dee is because it's 9:30, but she's not her mother, and then she texted Gabe that all was well for some reason. She's not telling him she's been threatened with a throat slash and a gun. It all was at the moment, but before long, this bastard was going down. At some point in time during this reading, like 4 chapters in, I was like, I don't think anyone's going to die. No. Like I thought for sure someone was going overboard or poisoned or something, but I think it's just going to be about petty money laundering. It's such a shame.
Yep, I thought it was going to be like, do not eat the shrimp. This person died. We don't.
Yeah, the brown shrimp. Do not
poisoned
take
it. Yeah.
Wasn't the body count in the drug one like 5 college students or something? Just like the biggest tragedy a town would have ever felt. Like,
yeah,
we had it's 8 kids in our neck of the woods that just got sick from taking some sort of fentanyl laced weed gummies, and it was the biggest story for 3 weeks or something. Like, this would have rocked national news in Cutler, and now you just back off the deaths and are having money laundering. Come on. Anyway.
So there it is. That's our reading. That's where we are. The game is afoot, I think. Because he keeps confronting her as a dark shadow.
Yeah, at some point in time, it's put up or shut up time, man.
Yeah.
You got to whack her with that 3-foot daiquiri in the shape of the Eiffel Tower people walk around carrying.
Right.
Great. Let's read some emails because we got some very good emails from our listeners. Some of from quilters themselves.
Mail call.
All right, so these are emails from many of our listeners who are also Patreon supporters, patreon.com/372 pages. That's where Mike's going to post his efforts to become a professional quilter by the end of the winter, I believe. That's a binding agreement made in passing. This first one is from Dawn. She says, I sent you a picture of this so you can check it out. I think since it's the only thing Mike remembers from the first book, I thought you guys might enjoy this picture my mom sent me of her new long arm quilting machine. She was super proud of it. It takes up an entire room in her house. I'm sure the ladies of Cutler Quilt Guild #1 just love watching a silver fox like Gabe run it. It's a serious piece of machinery.
That is a much longer arm than I ever would have thought.
You have to be Mr. Fantastic to reach all the way down there. It's got dual handles. You do it like you're a turret gunner.
Jeez, that's big.
And we got lots of emails from our listeners who are quilters. It turns out there's a lot of them. From Ruth, from Sarah, Jean, who all sent in pictures of some of their quilts. So I will post that as their gallery. Very impressive creative stuff, including one that was submitted by Jean that was she said it thought it would be good for the 372 crowd. It's based on the Tripods trilogy by John Christopher. I don't know if you've read those books, but they were, Scholastic Book Fair staples. It's like a sci-fi quilts where like a UFO is blasting some people. So very atypical.
Nice.
So yeah, congrats to everyone on their very
cool.
impressive efforts here. And then so we get an email from Kip, who says, as further proof, we are approaching a dark but comfortable future where cozy mysteries are the only books left. I submit this evidence I captured today at Barnes & Noble, and it's an issue of Writer's Digest, which says, write a cozy that charms the socks off your readers. And it's like a cozy issue. The headlines are Cozy Writing, Comfort Reading, 5 Techniques for Writing Holiday Romances, Unlock Writing Secrets of Literary Titans, Understanding the Role of Animals in Cozy Mysteries.
It's not that tough to get, is it?
Yeah. It should talk, and it should help you solve the mystery. I'm guessing is what's going to happen. We had Ron Vig's email from the buffet, the Lutefisk at the Abacruise. We'll post that as well. We had Jacob, who was wondering the description of Jamaica in chapter 14, had me wondering if the Devlin sisters used Fact King for their research.
Yes.
It also speculates that possibly they threw in the Devlin sisters so they could write off their Caribbean cruise as a business expense. We get this from Hayden. He says, I don't know if we get to vote, but I miss Conor challenging Mike in real or fanfic. For one, Mike will never be as good as Conor at parsing the real and fanfic. I just wanted to read that one.
Sideswipe there. Come on, man. What do you mean? We're tied.
You won today, so touche. Emily said, I have a theory about the Quilters universe. I think Mike Lambert is laundering money for one of the drug gangs in Miami Connection as one of the small timers referenced in our reading. Maybe the gang at the beginning of the movie, which is wiped out by the motorcycle ninjas. I desperately need a Quilters / Miami Connection crossover.
Whoa, that guy from Harlem.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in this. Wow.
And this is from Anna. She says, just some critical analysis. I feel like one of the book's biggest failures is his utter failure at creating any sense of urgency. We are constantly seeing the main characters be distracted by typical vacation activities, such as wasting hours wandering around a city and shopping during what was supposed to be a chase scene. You get the sense that even the characters aren't too concerned about this case. If the main characters don't care, then why should we? I have a theory that this book began as the author's travel diary, but their agent told them, we need a new book by tomorrow, so they quickly threw in a mystery to make the quota in time. It could explain why the book seems too disinterested in its own mystery. And I just want to say, agent... come on now.
Yeah.
Then again, it probably has 10,000 total Amazon reviews. So,
yes.
I mean, they could have been interviewed in a Writer's Digest about how best to monetize your vacation receipts into tax write-offs. Let's read some dumb sentences to close it out.
Dumb, 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 dumb sentence of the week.
All right, these are dumb sentences of the week submitted by our beloved listeners. First one comes from Skylar and Heather. Says, I nodded significantly. I think this is when she caught someone's eye. I don't remember what it was. I think they wanted us to do a visual challenge for it. But and then the side note from Heather here says, I had a few dumb sentences of the week candidates and went to my son Danny, who once upon a time asked me to read him at bedtime a chapter of Moon People. He is now 15 and a high school freshman. This is the sentence submission that made him snicker. By the way, his older brother Billy, who has been a constant presence on this podcast, is now a high school senior. This podcast has been around for a while. Crazy. Have any of these kids, high schoolers, written book reports about the books we cover on here or the books that we've written? Come on, someone step up. Alejandro told us this remarkable story of passing through a small town in Kentucky and spotting a church quilting event. And he said, remarkable is being stretched by a medieval torture rack here. Craig submitted the partner sentence of that one. We sat fascinated as she talked us through layering and pinning without a frame using fingerless gloves to ease the pain in the wrist and fingers, marking only small areas at a time so it wouldn't smudge off, and all kinds of great tips. And he says, in addition to being intensely boring, it's also disappointing. We never find out what the other great tips were. Is it stuff like lift with your knees, not your back, or don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things?
Oh, gosh.
We'll never know. Mike submitted, this was like at the very end of the reading. It had been a long day and fresh air makes me sleepy. And he said, either her small town in Pennsylvania is downwind of a refinery or she's sleepy all the time. Or maybe the interstate, the gas fumes from the interstate have just wafted in. Kate submitted, but she's a fellow quilter, I said softly. I think that was when Gabe was like, don't get involved with this woman. But she says, Kate said, I may be willing to offer advice on your quilting project or even help you find a long out-of-print fabric. But if you're involved in international crime, quilter or not, you are on your own, sister. Anna submitted, day fast boats for bringing in drugs, ladies. You don't got to be messing around here. I feel like people keep giving us that just so we potentially get in trouble for reading it.
We get in trouble.
Eric submitted, understanding dawned, looks were exchanged, and eating quickly resumed.
Yes.
And he said, I'm so glad we got closure on what happened to the food after the earlier statement. The others stopped eating. Cameron submitted, he made eye contact boldly. George, Amanda, and Mark all submitted, I won't elaborate, drool factor, but we did share and exchange the kinds of pie. And one of them said, wow, sharing and exchanging, these ladies are having a wild time. Harrison and Nathan both submitted, have I mentioned my new grandson? And said, it makes me laugh because it is exactly how an old woman on a plane would say it. Mention something baby-related, say that, then never mention the baby again, which appears to be what happened in this one. Emily submitted, I waited, trying to hear what was interesting about this. And she said, everyone in the book has officially gained sentience. Jay submitted, this is when they are touring in the Bahamas, we both love aquariums, always have. He had added the spits tobacco was implied. It does sound like something from King of the Hill. We were both served, Jonathan submitted, we were served efficiently, but not made to feel rushed. And he said it reads like a 5-star Yelp review from a German. Janelle submitted, there's no better feeling than throwing up your arm and yelling, bingo. She said, move over holding your firstborn child. I got a bingo. Hayden submitted, we all seem to head to our room by consensus. And he said, this sentence was ghostwritten by Klein. You either did or you didn't. You didn't all just go to one room. Did you take a vote? Braden submitted, this is from the mole. Now that I am of no use to them, they will leave me and my family alone. Said, yes, because large money laundering syndicates are known for their compassion when one of their police informants gets busted. Andrew submitted, watching her shows was a guilty pleasure of my own. This was the quilting instructor who taught the Redwork. And he said, how was watching the show of a celebrity quilter that everybody loved a guilty pleasure? Justin submitted, it was no doubt thrilling to see the big predators coming to check you out, to judge by Dee's open mouth and big eyes. That's the shark she was swimming with. Ryan submitted, I waited, trying to hear what was interesting about this. I guess that was we already covered that one. Ron Vig submitted, between us, we had hats, sunglasses, bug spray, wallets, and big empty tote bags for the things we were likely to buy at the famous straw market. And he said, someone better get bug sprayed in the eyes by the end of this book. That could be a Chekhov thing that he mentioned that they're carrying. Rick submitted, Jennifer Myers was tall and enviably thin, with bright red hair pulled into a ponytail and an infectious grin. And he said, by the way, that's punctuated. Her hair was pulled into an infectious grin, pulled into a ponytail and an infectious grin. Jacob submitted, I took a water bottle from our frig and drank down half of it. It is spelled F-R-A-G.
I was going to bring that up towards the end, and I was like, all right, let it pass. But I'm glad somebody else did.
And Jeff submitted, the guy who got us into this whole thing, yes, there is a video. And he says, not particularly dumb on its face, but coming in the middle of hand quilting without a frame seminar in order to reassure people that a murder victim left behind a visual record of themselves performing said tasks elevates it to a whole new level of tone-deaf, cozy stupidity. He also answered a question we had from our last one. Settee is a couch. I know this because I just watched an episode of Murder, She Wrote in which a hard-bitten LA detective mentions that the pillows on a nightclub's multiple settees are identical. Luckily, J.B. Fletcher cuts right through the bullshit and solves the murder of Martin Landau forthwith.
I don't know if you want to settle bets by going, look, guys, I just watched an episode of Murder, She Wrote, so I think I'm pretty well versed on this thing.
I had no more Quilter's books to read, so I turned on the Murder, She Wrote marathon I had abandoned to look at them. But
that's good.
Did you have any that were not burned?
No, they were all burned. I do like. I will just go back to it. Is that Shelby chirped something and then they all laughed. She chirped something that was not. We deserve it. Shelby chirped, and everyone laughed. Like the captain came up from behind. Oh, what are you guys laughing at? I'm going to put that in my story time.
Even my laugh is handsome. I submitted, despite our awkward encounter yesterday, I knew that Virginia Hamilton was a talented quilter and a charming speaker. I don't know. Lots of dumbness here. All right, we're finishing the book for next time.
All right.
Will anyone die?
It's too late, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess you need the body. You know, the butler's supposed to die at the beginning of the before the intermission. So
when does Mike Lambert pin them all against a wall with his? You know, he's obviously got a pistol, and like when does that happen?
Right.
All the quilters. I mean, what do they do exactly? Like, how did they push back? What did the quilters do to push back here?
Well,
observe him.
Steal his. Yeah, the backup sewing machine. Swap the two sewing machines with the real. Like she goes to David demonstration. She tries to sew. Yeah. Wait a second. Money starts coming out. She sews money into the quilt, and they auction that off for the Fort Lauderdale Hospital.
Okay, picking up the sewing machine and going, "This doesn't feel the weight of a normal sewing machine," said Shelby, and then took 13 shots to her temple.
Mike reloaded in the middle of of firing at Shelby.
He double tapped her. She was already dead.
Will Lori get in trouble as well, or would the hand wave away her involvement?
Oh, I think she's going down.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Lori's doing a hard time. Yeah. All right.
Will they encounter anyone else with an accent that we will be tempted to read and how it's written and not be willing to do that?
Yes.
Probably. All right, let's finish the book because there's lots of questions remaining. Thank you, everyone who listens along and supports the podcast.
Thanks, everyone.